Welcome to English Speak Pulse. I'm Danielle, and today, we're taking a little trip across borders. Imagine walking through the streets of Paris, hearing the melody of the French language all around you. But this time, you actually understand what people are saying.
And I'm Sarah. Whether you're traveling, studying, or just fascinated by French culture, this episode will give you the exact phrases native speakers use every single day. From ordering coffee to greeting friends, we'll make French sound simple, practical, and fun.
Here's the exciting part. You don't need years of study to start speaking French naturally. You just need the right phrases, the right pronunciation, and the confidence to use them.
So get ready. By the end of this series, you'll be able to walk into any cafe, chat with locals, or even handle emergencies, all in French.
And trust me, once you hear how smoothly these phrases work in real-life situations, you'll wonder why you didn't start learning French sooner.
Okay, let's unpack this. If you are looking for maybe a shortcut to speaking French with genuine confidence, or maybe just understanding those underlying cultural rules, the ones that sort of govern every single interaction.
Yeah, the unspoken architecture.
Exactly. Then this deep dive, well, it's definitely for you. We're not just learning phrases today. We're learning like social architecture.
Bonjour à tous. And yes, we jump right into that core principle. In French culture, language isn't just, passing information.
Right.
It's a ritual. It's about politeness. So learning the proper greetings, it's not just about the words.
No,
it's about acknowledging the person, showing respect, that foundation, that very first moment. It's everything.
Absolutely. It's such a shift from English, isn't it? Where we might just, jump into a transaction. Hey, can I get this?
Right.
That just doesn't fly in French. The way you start really does set the whole trajectory.
So let's start with those mandated greetings.
Yeah.
Bonjour. Good day. That's your standard from morning right through until, the sun starts to fade. And once that happens, maybe around 6 p.m., could be earlier in winter, you must switch to bonsoir. Evening.
Okay, bonjour, bonsoir. Sounds simple enough. But here's that key cultural point we found, right?
A mandate. Yes.
Greetings are totally non-negotiable. You just can't walk into a bakery, a shop, an office.
Anywhere, really. Even passing someone in a quiet hallway.
Without offering that bonjour first.
Exactly. It's like offering a handshake. If you fail to do it, it's not just a little impolite.
No. What is it then?
It can actually seem rude, dismissive, maybe even arrogant. It demands social engagement. You're signaling, I see you, I respect your presence.
I remember reading this anecdote. I think it was about a tourist who ordered coffee without saying bonjour, and the Parisian waiter just stood there.
Yes.
Just waited until the tourist finally got it, realized they missed the opening.
That quiet, passive enforcement is so real. It happens constantly.
Wow.
But, okay, once you've got that basic respect down, you can move on.
Right.
If you're with friends, family, people you know well, then you can switch it up.
Oh.
You can use the casual greeting, salut.
Salut. Okay, so that's just hi.
Pretty much. Hi or hey. But using it is an immediate sign of intimacy, or at least familiarity. You wouldn't use it with your boss's boss, usually.
Gotcha. And that severity, that importance of the greeting, it flows right into the next really critical thing, doesn't it?
Oh, yes.
How you actually address someone, the word you.
The famous vous versus tu. This is where the cultural depth really shows.
Okay, break it down for us. Vous.
Vous is your formal you. You use it with strangers, anyone older than you, in professional settings, with anyone in authority. It's the default.
The default. Okay, and tu.
Tu is informal.
Yeah.
It's reserved for your close circle, family, friends, kids, and crucially, peers who have sort of invited you into that informal space.
What's so fascinating here, I think, is that this isn't just a grammar tick box.
Not at all.
It's a social tool. It actually defines the relationship, right? Using vous shows distance, respect, maybe even hierarchy.
Precisely. It acknowledges that structure.
Okay, what happens if you get it wrong? If you bypass vous and go straight to tu with, say, a shopkeeper.
That's called le tutoiement, using tu, and it carries real social risk.
How so?
If you use tu with a stranger or someone older, it can be seen in two bad ways.
Okay.
Either you're just naive, you don't know the rules, or, more seriously, it can be seen as deliberately disrespectful, aggressive even. Like getting way too close physically to someone you just met, inappropriately familiar.
Wow. Is there ever a time when maybe a French speaker might intentionally use tu with a stranger, like to break down a wall or signal rebellion?
Maybe occasionally. You might see it used ironically in some very specific, very casual youth groups, perhaps. But generally, no. You avoid it.
So the safe bet is
always default to vous. The power dynamic is interesting, too. It's usually the person who receives vous, the older person, the superior, who has the social authority to say, hey, we can use tu now.
Ah, okay. On peut se tutoyer. Can we use tu?
Exactly. They might say that. Until that happens, you stick with vous.
That makes perfect sense. It really is about signaling emotional intelligence, isn't it?
It is.
Okay, let's talk about the absolute linguistic non-negotiables. Please and thank you.
Yes. Forgetting these, even once, it just undermines everything. All that effort with bonjour and vous, gone.
So please.
Well, mirroring the tu vis thing, there are two ways. The formal, super useful one is s'il vous plaît.
Pronouncing carefully. S'il vous plaît. And you can hear the vous right in there.
Right. It tells you it's formal.
And if I'm asking my friend, like, pass the salt, please.
And it's the informal. S'il te plaît.
Pronouncing carefully.
Happy.
S'il te plaît. With the T matching tu.
Exactly. Now, thank you is simpler.
Okay.
Just merci. That works everywhere.
Merci. Easy enough.
And if you want to add emphasis, merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. No formal and informal split there.
Good. Merci beaucoup. But the really elegant part, I think, is the response, right? When someone says merci to you.
Ah, yes. The simplest reply, very common, is de rien.
De rien. Which means?
Literally, it's nothing, but it means you're welcome.
Okay.
But if you want to sound a bit more polished, maybe in a business context, or if you did someone a real favor,
yes,
you can use je vous en prie.
Ooh, fancy.
Je vous en prie. It's more formal, a bit more deferential, like saying, the pleasure was all mine, don't mention it. Mastering that one is a definite sign of deeper cultural fluency.
Okay, let's run that bakery scenario again. But focus on the flow, the whole exchange.
Right.
So I walk in, make eye contact, and I say,
bonjour, madame, or bonjour, monsieur.
Right. Bonjour, madame, une baguette, s'il vous plaît. I've used the greeting, the formal vous in please.
Perfect. She hands you the baguette, maybe says the price, you pay. She says, merci beaucoup.
And I reply.
You could say, de rien. Perfectly fine. Or, for that extra touch, je vous en prie.
Got it. And that little sequence, it sounds smooth, respects the rules.
And it instantly moves you from feeling like an awkward outsider to just a participant, someone who gets it.
Okay, connection made. Now, what if we need to actually introduce ourselves?
Right. After the greeting. Stating your name is easy. Je m'appelle. Then your name.
Je m'appelle. Host's name? Okay.
But again, asking someone else's name,
yeah,
you have to make that vous or tu calculation.
Ah, okay. So, formally, to someone older or in business.
Comment vous appelez-vous? How do you call yourself? Formal.
Comment vous appelez-vous? Got it. And informally. To someone my age at a party.
Comment tu t'appelles?
Comment tu t'appelles? Oh.
Okay. And then you need the phrase for nice to meet you. And the French one is just lovely.
What is it?
Enchanté.
Enchanté. It sounds enchanting.
It literally means enchanted or delighted. It conveys such genuine pleasure, not just, ticking a box.
That's a beautiful detail. Really captures that romantic reputation, doesn't it?
It does. And a quick note, technically, for gender.
Ah, yes.
If the speaker identifies as female, the spelling adds an e enchanté. The pronunciation difference is often very subtle, sometimes non-existent depending on accent, but the written form changes.
Good tip. Okay, names exchanged. What about the classic, how are you?
Again, depends on vous or tu. Formal for that business contact or the shopkeeper. Comment allez-vous?
Comment allez-vous? How are you doing? Formal.
Right. And for your friends, your peers, the super common, really versatile option is
Ça va.
Ça va.
Exactly.
It's so simple.
And here's the fun part, the linguistic loop I love.
Yes.
If someone asks you, ça va, and you're doing fine, the best response is often just
Ça va bon, with a positive tone, or ça va bien, merci, I'm doing well, thanks.
Love it. Ça va bon, ça va mais.
It captures the rhythm. Let's hear that casual flow. Imagine meeting a friend.
Okay. Salut, ça va?
Ça va bien, et toi? Doing well, and you?
Ça va très bien, merci. Doing very well, thank you. See, it's light, it's quick, it feels almost musical. It really does.
Yeah.
That rhythm, that musicality, it's key to sounding authentic.
Absolutely.
But that rhythm can get totally broken if you fall into some common traps, right? Even if you know the words.
Oh, definitely. Here's where it gets really interesting for learners.
Lay it on us. Trap number 1.
Overusing the casual stuff. We mentioned salut. But also phrases like A plus for later.
Right.
You absolutely cannot use these in formal settings. Imagine like ending a big presentation to the board with catch ya later.
Yeah, bad luck.
Stick to bonjour, bonsoir, and the proper farewells until you are sure it's okay.
Makes sense. And the other big trap, which we sort of touched on.
The premature two. Starting off with comment tu t'appelles, or using s'il te plaît with a waiter or an older person.
It just signals you don't get the social boundaries.
Exactly. When in doubt, always default to vous. The social cost of being a bit too formal. Pretty much zero.
But the cost of being too informal.
Can be high. You can seem rude or clueless.
Okay. Vous is the safe harbor.
Always. And, we really should mention pronunciation just briefly.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Because learners often wrestle with the actual sound of French. Not the letters on the page, but the nasal sounds, the throat sounds. That soft R in bonjour is so important. It shouldn't be the hard English R. It's softer, more in the back of the throat. Bonjour.
Practicing that specific sound transition from the nasal on to the soft R slowly. That's key.
It really is.
So, okay, instead of just drilling flashcards or waiting for a trip, how can you start embedding these rules, making them automatic, switching your brain into that French cultural mode?
Yeah, we need techniques that build the cultural reflex, not just vocabulary.
Like what?
Well, beyond just repeating words, try what I call, social role play.
Okay.
Every time you get in an elevator or pass someone's desk at work, mentally perform the French ritual. Offer a clear bonjour. Imagine their response.
So you're forcing your brain to accept that rule, that the greeting must come first.
Exactly. You're turning everyday moments into tiny, low-stakes practice sessions for the cultural mandate.
I love that. Okay, and what about for people aiming higher, like for business settings or more formal social events? We need phrases that go beyond just polite, right, to elegant.
Yes, that's the polished layer. Phrases that show real warmth.
Give us some examples.
Okay, so instead of just enchanté, you could say, ça me fait plaisir de vous rencontrer.
Ça me fait plaisir de vous rencontrer. Meaning?
It brings me pleasure to meet you. Using plaisir, pleasure, adds a lovely layer of sincerity.
Nice. Anything else?
For a real formal flourish, maybe try ravi de faire votre connaissance.
Ravi de faire votre connaissance.
Delighted to make your acquaintance. These are high impact. They signal serious cultural literacy. They make you memorable in a good way.
Got it. Politeness first, then layering on the elegance.
And if we connect all this back to the bigger picture, the main insight here is that French politeness isn't just like an optional performance.
Well, it's structural.
Exactly. It's the framework. It's what allows social interactions to happen smoothly. The tone, the cultural rules, they're inseparable.
So you've had your interaction. You've navigated tu en vous. You've used your s'il vous plaît. How do you end it gracefully? Can't just walk away.
No. You need the right farewell. During the day, it's bonne journée.
Have a good day.
In the evening, bonne soirée.
Have a good evening.
And the general, always useful one is, à bientôt face.
See you.
Perfect. Leaves a positive final impression. Okay, so here's a final thought for you to kind of chew on as you practice these phrases.
Right.
You've now really grasped the tu vous distinction, right? That social hierarchy it builds in.
Mm-hmm.
Now think about this. Many languages, like English, they don't have that. We just have you.
Right. One size fits all.
So what unexpected challenges, social or linguistic, might a native French speaker run into when they first learn English? How do they signal professional distance or respect when the language doesn't automatically give them a tool like vous to do it?
That's a great question. How do they navigate that lack of distinction?
Something to think about. À bientôt.
Welcome back to the deep dive. If you're learning French, you probably know the drill. Grammar's tough, conjugations can be, brutal, but there's maybe an even trickier mountain to climb. And that's sounding genuinely natural and friendly, kind, not just perfectly correct, but maybe a bit stiff.
Exactly. It's really the difference between just speaking French words and actually sort of inhabiting the language, the culture behind it. We're diving into a really interesting stack of sources today called Essential French Polite Expressions.
Okay.
And they make a pretty strong claim. You could have, absolutely flawless grammar, but if you leave out certain key polite phrases, well, the cultural assumption is you might be coming across as cold, or detached, maybe even a bit disrespectful.
Right, that's the core idea here, isn't it? That French communication, it's built on this foundation of courtesy that's kind of mandatory. It's not just an optional extra layer of politeness.
It's the required social music, as it were.
Yeah, I like that. So our mission today is to pull out those absolute magic words, those essential phrases, and I guess crucially, understand the cultural rhythm they create, the thing that lets you sound elegant, respectful, and genuinely friendly. Okay, so let's start with maybe the most basic interactions, getting someone's attention or, dealing with a little accident, bumping into someone. How did the sources guide us on distinguishing between, say, excusez-moi and the different ways to say sorry?
Well, excusez-moi is really your foundational phrase for just engaging with the world outside. It serves sort of two main functions. First, grabbing attention, maybe asking a stranger a question like, excusez-moi, monsieur, je cherche la rue Victor Hugo. Oh, excuse me, sir, I'm looking for Victor Hugo Street.
Okay.
Or it's for those minor physical intrusions, like maybe accidentally bumping someone's shoulder in a crowd. It's primarily functional.
So it's less about feeling deep regret and more about just navigating shared space politely. What about when you do need to convey a genuine apology? The sources seem to highlight a critical separation there.
Yes, absolutely. In English, we tend to use sorry for almost everything.
Sure.
Stepping on someone's toe or canceling an important plan.
Right.
But in French, the language kind of separates the level of offense. Pardon is generally used for those minor infringements of personal space. A quick, pretty casual apology if you're passing someone closely or need them to move just a little bit. It's fleeting.
Okay, just a quick, oops, sorry. And what if the situation demands actual regret? Or maybe you've caused some kind of emotional offense, not just a physical bump.
That's where you absolutely need je suis désolé or je suis désolé. The source materials really emphasize this. Désolé implies that you are actually emotionally affected by the situation. It means something closer to I am distressed or I'm truly sorry about this.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, if you're male, you say désolé. If you're female, you add the E, désolé. If you have to cancel that dinner plan we mentioned, you must use désolé. A simple pardon there would sound incredibly dismissive, almost rude.
Wow. Okay, this really shows the cultural depth, doesn't it? The sources also stress that even the same word, like pardon, can sound completely different based purely on tone.
Oh, massively. Tone is everything. A rushed, clipped pardon can definitely sound like, get out of my way.
Yeah.
Whereas a softer, maybe slightly slower, pardon, madame, clearly conveys, oh, I do apologize for disturbing you. The tone is really the vessel carrying the politeness. The words are just the start.
Makes sense. Okay, let's shift to requests, because this next phrase is actually one of my favorites. When we ask for something, we use s'il vous plaît. But the literal translation, that gives us huge cultural insight, doesn't it?
It really does. S'il vous plaît literally means if it pleases you. And that framing right there immediately lifts the request. It's not a demand anymore. It becomes this courteous appeal.
Right.
You're implicitly acknowledging that you aren't owed that cup of coffee. You're asking the server kindly to do this action if it is agreeable to them. It's inherently, humble.
And that, of course, uses the formal vous. We definitely need to make sure listeners understand the two distinction too for informal situations.
Yes, crucial point. With friends, family, kids, or importantly, anyone who has specifically invited you to use to, then you switch to s'il te plaît. So it's un verre d'eau s'il vous plaît at a restaurant.
Okay.
Versus maybe passe-moi le livre, s'il te plaît, asking your roommate to pass the book. The source material is crystal clear on this.
Yeah.
It's a binary choice, and you absolutely default to the formal vous with strangers or informal settings until you're explicitly invited to do otherwise. That's just mandatory courtesy.
So the core toolkit isn't just learning phrases, it's really adopting a mindset. It's about viewing every interaction almost as a mini negotiation, a request for cooperation, framed by this inherent respect.
Precisely.
Okay, now let's tackle this idea of rhythm. I think maybe a lot of English speakers, and I'll include myself here, tend to think of politeness as something extra, something we sprinkle on top of an interaction if we're feeling nice. But the sources seem to reveal that for French speakers, it's much more structural. It's like a mandatory social dance you have to do.
That really is the biggest cultural pivot, I think. The transaction, the actual business of the interaction, simply cannot begin until the greeting ritual has been properly established. If you walk into a small shop, a boulangerie perhaps,
right,
the very first thing that must happen before anything else is bonjour. If you skip that initial bonjour, even if you follow up with perfect grammar and sprinkle s'il vous plaît everywhere, You've basically already failed the social test.
Why is skipping bonjour considered so jarring, culturally speaking? What's the big deal?
Well, the sources explain it like this. The French greeting, the bonjour, acts as a kind of social handshake.
Okay.
It acknowledges the humanity, the actual presence of the person you're about to interact with. It confirms you see them as a person, not just, a functionary or a vending machine dispensing bread.
I see.
So if you immediately launch into, where are the apples? The sources are quite blunt. This is often interpreted as incredibly arrogant. You've essentially bypassed the fundamental step of making a human connection first.
And this rhythm, this dance, it extends to the end of the interaction too, right? You have to close the loop properly.
Exactly. Leaving a shop requires an au revoir, and very often a bonne journée, have a good day, or if it's evening, bonne soirée, have a good evening. The sources use phone calls as a classic example of this rhythm.
Oh, okay.
You must start with bonjour when you answer or call, and you absolutely must end with some kind of positive send-off. Just cutting straight to the point or hanging up without that feels abrupt, almost like hanging up while the other person is still talking.
That leads us quite neatly to the loop of gratitude. Merci is obviously the easy part, most people know that, but the response, that seems to be where the real courtesy marker lies. We're told, for instance, not to just translate no problem.
Right. You have to keep that flow of respect going. The most common, everyday response is de rien. It literally means of nothing, implying it was nothing.
Okay.
But crucially, when you want to be more formal, maybe speaking to a customer, someone older, a superior, you upgrade. You use je vous en prie.
Can you help unpack je vous en prie a bit? It sounds quite formal. Why does that phrase carry more weight?
Well, the verb prier means to pray, to beseech, or to beg. Historically and structurally, je vous en prie translates very roughly to something like, I beg you not to mention it, or I entreat you.
Wow.
The sources suggest that grammatically, this reflexive structure itself signals a higher level of formality and respect compared to the simple, almost dismissive de rien. It's a powerful linguistic tool for sort of minimizing the service you provided while simultaneously maximizing the other person's perceived importance.
Okay, so if I hold the door for someone, they say merci. To complete that social loop correctly, I'd respond with je vous en prie to a stranger, but maybe just de rien to a friend or someone I know well. And the conversation isn't really finished until that response is given. It completes the circuit.
Precisely. The loop must be closed.
So moving beyond that mandatory loop, let's talk about adding a layer of sincerity. Once you've got the basics down, you probably want your appreciation to sound, well, personal and genuinely felt, not just automatic.
Yes, and to personalize your thanks, you need phrases that connect the kind action back to the person's character, not just the action itself. So instead of only saying merci, you could use c'est gentil de votre part, which means that's kind of you.
Ah, nice.
Or slightly more formal and using the active voice, je vous remercie. This literally means I thank you. And it subtly shifts the focus from the thing received to you, the speaker, actively expressing gratitude to the person.
The source materials also pointed out a specific phrase that apparently French people find particularly heartfelt. Merci, c'est très apprécié.
Yes, that's a great one. Thank you. That is very appreciated. It shows you recognize the value of the gesture, not just its utility. It sounds less rote, perhaps, than just a standard merci beaucoup.
Okay. And if we connect this whole idea of needing to soften things and add warmth, well, we absolutely need to talk about how to manage disagreement gracefully. In English, sometimes a quipped yes or no is perfectly normal, even efficient. But the sources suggest that in French, that kind of directness can easily sound blunt or even confrontational. So how do we even agree politely?
Right. You generally avoid just a bare, clipped oui. You tend to extend it, soften it, use phrases like oui, bien sûr, meaning yes, of course. Or you might use more professional-sounding affirmations like exactement, exactly. Or the very strong tout à fait, which means absolutely or quite right.
I see.
These little additions soften the agreement. They show you're actively engaging with their point. You're confirming it fully, not just giving a minimal reaction.
And when you disagree, that softening becomes even more critical to maintain respect, I imagine.
Oh, absolutely crucial. Disagreement should almost never be blunt. The sources strongly recommend cushioning any negative response. Instead of a hard supplet, non, you insert a bit of distance or uncertainty. Phrases like je ne pense pas, I don't think so, or pas vraiment, not really. These help maintain conversational harmony. Or even gentler still, je ne suis pas sûr, or sûr for a female speaker, I'm not sure. It cleverly implies the issue might lie with your own certainty rather than directly challenging the other person's premise.
That's a wonderful technique, actually. Very useful for de-escalation in any language, really. Okay, finally in this section, the sources touch briefly on compliments. They mention French compliments can often be quite poetic or elegant. How does one give and, just as importantly, receive them gracefully?
French compliments often focus on things like taste, effort, or aesthetics. You might hear, "J'aime beaucoup ton style." I really like your style. Or a simple but powerful observation like, "C'est magnifique." That's magnificent. The focus is often on a specific detail or quality appreciated.
And the required response. You can't just brush it off or deflect it like we sometimes do in English cultures saying, "Oh, this old thing."
Absolutely not. Deflecting can seem impolite, oddly enough. You must accept the compliment graciously. The classic, simple reply is, "Merci, c'est gentil." Thank you, that's kind.
Okay.
But to be perhaps a little more charming, maybe slightly witty, you could use, "Oh, vous êtes trop aimable," which translates literally to, "Oh, you are too kind, lovable." It shows you genuinely appreciated the compliment without sounding arrogant about it.
Right. Let's try and ground all this in some everyday practice, because that's really vital for anyone learning. The sources actually provide some excellent little narrative examples. Let's imagine, say, a typical scenario at a bakery.
Okay, a great little practice vignette. You walk in, first thing, "Bonjour, madame," or "Bonjour, monsieur." Then your request, "Je voudrais 2 croissants et une baguette, s'il vous plaît." I would like 2 croissants and a baguette, please. See how the greeting sets the stage immediately. Then the request is framed politely with, "Je voudrais," I would like, and "s'il vous plaît." The courtesy is baked right in, pardon the pun.
Nice one. Or maybe at a cafe, ordering something simple like, "Un café au lait, merci beaucoup." Straightforward, but the merci beaucoup is there.
Yeah.
And for something maybe a bit more complex, like a professional interaction, perhaps on the phone.
Good example. "Bonjour, ici Sarah. Pourrais-je parler à M. Dubois, s'il vous plaît?" "Hello, Sarah here. Could I speak to Mr. Dubois, please?" Again, that opening bonjour is absolutely paramount. Which brings us neatly, actually, to the 4 most common pitfalls the source material identifies for English speakers.
Okay, let's hear them.
Number 1, which we've really stressed already, is skipping bonjour before asking any question or making any statement. It's described as the instant rudeness trigger.
Right. The social handshake miss. Okay, what's number 2?
The second is the dreaded tu versus vous error, specifically using the informal tu way too early. How serious is this blunder, culturally speaking?
Yeah, how bad is it really?
Well, the sources suggest it's more than just awkward. It can be perceived as actively insulting. Using tu prematurely is like assuming an intimacy that simply hasn't been granted yet. It can feel like a breach of social hierarchy, maybe even trust. You absolutely must wait for the other person, especially if they're older, or in any position of authority, to explicitly invite you to use tu. Until that happens, vous is the only safe, respectful default.
Got it. Okay, pitfall number 3.
Number 3 is direct translation issues, which we touched on with no problem. Why do the sources insist on alternatives like pas de souci, no worry, or avec plaisir, with pleasure, instead of a literal translation?
Yeah, why not just say pas de problème?
Because apparently no problem subtly implies there was a potential problem, some difficulty that you heroically overcame for them. Whereas phrases like de rien, it was nothing, pas de souci, or avec plaisir maintain a lighter, more consistently courteous tone. They reinforce the idea that helping or assisting was either a non-issue or perhaps even enjoyable for you. It just completes that respect cycle more smoothly.
Makes perfect sense. And the final pitfall, you said there were 4.
The final one is actually quite subtle. Overusing merci.
Really? How can you overuse thank you?
Well, if you just pepper every single sentence with merci, 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 it starts to lose its impact. It can sound a bit ingenuine, maybe even performative after a while.
Okay.
So the sources suggest varying your expressions of gratitude. Instead of just repeating merci, maybe use c'est très gentil sometimes, or je vous remercie, or even just vary your tone significantly for the second or third merci in a row. Keep it fresh, keep it sincere.
So what does all this boil down to then in terms of the right mindset? We need to really internalize this core belief that French politeness isn't just some superficial layer of formality, is it?
Exactly. It's fundamentally about demonstrating that you genuinely value the other person's time, their presence, their humanity. The sources note how this mindset really permeates the whole society. Even teenagers typically use bonjour, monsieur, or bonjour, madame when caressing their teachers. It's deeply ingrained. And achieving it requires more than just words. It requires the right tone, the right timing, making eye contact, and just having the subtle, constant acknowledgement that you're participating respectfully in a shared social space. If you can adopt that mindset, the sources suggest the correct phrasing will start to follow much more naturally. Hashtag outro.
This deep dive really shows that your goal, if you're learning French and want to sound confident and warm, is totally achievable. It's about mastering these social rhythms. You won't just be grammatically correct, you'll actually be, well, socially fluent.
Absolutely. And to help solidify these habits, the sources offer 3 really practical lines to practice daily, just until they become automatic reflexes. First, practice that full interaction starter.
Bonjour, excusez-moi, je cherche la gare, s'il vous plaît. Hello, excuse me, I'm looking for the train station, please.
Okay, good one. What's the second?
Second, practice gracious acceptance, perhaps of help or a compliment. Merci beaucoup, vous êtes très gentil. Thank you very much. You are very kind. Remember gentil for a male, gentil for a female referent.
Got it. And the third? And finally, that essential parting line. Bonne journée, à bientôt. Have a good day, see you soon. If you can make those 3 automatic, you'll instantly sound more natural and integrated.
That's great practical advice. You know, the really rhythmic nature of these prescribed, polite responses, that almost mandatory merci that absolutely must be followed by je vous en prie or de rien, it means there's a rarely an awkward silence or gap in these basic social interactions. It closes the loop every time. Which raises a final question, maybe something for you, the listener, to consider. If French culture mandates these constant little loops of courtesy, partly to acknowledge the humanity in every small transaction, what unexpected social interaction gaps might exist in everyday English communication? Gaps that perhaps the French system beautifully closes with this kind of mandatory rhythmic courtesy, something to maybe mull over next time you grab a coffee.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Deep Dive. We are jumping into a truly practical subject today. If our last session was about those foundational polite bits, the please and thank you need everywhere, this deep dive is all about, well, application. We're moving beyond just courtesy and into, let's say, operational language.
That's absolutely right. Think of the sources we've gathered here as your personalized kind of survival toolkit. Our mission, really, is to equip you with the daily phrases you'll need for those 3 pillars of travel: navigating commerce, mastering dining, and crucially, getting where you need to go. The goal is fluency and utility, so you sound not just polite, but, genuinely confident, effective.
Okay, let's unpack this essential kit then. We've organized the material into 5 pretty clear areas. First, the retail experience, shopping and stuff. Second, ordering and eating out. Third, asking for directions always needed. Fourth, achieving that social grace, getting the formality right. And finally, some pro tips to sound, well, truly natural.
And what's really fascinating here, I think, is that we're not just translating words. We're giving you the cultural scripts. These are the things that prevent miscommunication. It's the difference between just being served and actually being understood, you know?
Yeah, I really appreciate that focus on context. Okay, let's start where most of us spend our time, and probably our money: shopping and buying. This covers everything from the tiny boulangerie to, like, a big department store. What's the absolute fundamental phrase we need?
Always start with a greeting. Can't stress that enough. Then state your request clearly using the conditional tense. It's just inherently polite. The essential phrase is bonjour, je voudrais, which means hello, I would like.
Right. So if I'm in a small shop, maybe something like bonjour, je voudrais une bouteille de vin rouge, s'il vous plaît. But what if I blank on the specific word? Like, I can't remember red wine. How do I still get my point across without just defaulting to English?
That's a really important point. You can always point and use a simpler version. Bonjour, je voudrais ceci, I would like this, while you gesture. Honestly, politeness covers a multitude of vocabulary gaps. Once you've got the item, asking the price is next. You can use either combien ça coûte or the slightly quicker c'est combien.
Okay, simple enough. And if we're talking clothes, obviously we need to know if we can try it on. Est-ce que je peux l'essayer? And then the follow-up questions, if it isn't quite right, avez-vous une autre taille for another size? Or maybe asking for a different color. Avez-vous ceci en noir?
Precisely. Now, here's a really critical cultural cue, especially in maybe more high-end boutiques. If a shop assistant comes up to you and you genuinely don't need help right then, never just ignore them or shake your head silently. That can come across as quite dismissive.
Oh, right. So what's the polite, kind of minimal response that lets me browse in peace without being rude?
Just say, je regarde, merci. It means, I'm looking, thank you. That phrase instantly signals you're aware of them, you appreciate the offer, but you just need a moment. It keeps the interaction positive.
That's great social navigation, really useful. Okay, so once I've decided, yes, I want this, I just say, je le prends.
What about the fun stuff, though, the bargaining? The sources mentioned a phrase specifically for markets.
Ah, yes. For the slightly more adventurous shopper, particularly in local flea markets or maybe farmers markets, and I have to stress, never in a fixed-price shop or a chain store, you might try, pouvez-vous me faire un petit prix, which is like, can you give me a little price or a small discount? It shows you understand that market rhythm, and honestly, it often gets a playful smile, even if the answer is no.
Yeah, that distinction is crucial. Context is everything to avoid offense. And the mandatory closing. You can't just walk out.
No, never. Always end with merci, au revoir, bonne journée. And make sure you actually make eye contact when you say it. It matters. Okay, moving on from commerce to culture. Let's talk dining. The French table, it's definitely a place of ritual, isn't it? Getting the entrance right feels important.
Oh, it is. The interaction starts the second you walk in. You absolutely must always start with bonjour or bonsoir, depending on the time of day. If you fail to greet the staff, honestly, you've already created a bit of a barrier. Then if you need a table, you request une table pour deux, s'il vous plaît, for 2, 3, whatever.
Got it. Once seated, we need the menu. But this is a point I know trips people up. What exactly should we ask for? Is it menu?
Right. This is a key deep dive nugget here. You need to ask for la carte, s'il vous plaît. La carte is the comprehensive menu listing everything. If you ask for le menu, you're specifically asking for the set fixed price meal, often with limited choices, starter, main, dessert. Asking for le menu when you actually want to see all the options, la carte will just confuse your server.
Oh, okay. That is extremely helpful clarity. The mistake is easily made. If I want a recommendation, if I'm feeling unsure,
yeah, you can open up the conversation nicely with qu'est-ce que vous recommandez? That invites them to share local specialties or maybe the daily specials. When you're ready to order, use je prendrai, followed by your choices. For instance, je prendrai une carafe d'eau et la soupe du jour, s'il vous plaît.
And assuming the food is good, hopefully it is, it seems important to compliment the chef or the meal.
Definitely. C'est délicieux is pretty essential. If you want to elevate that a bit, you could say c'est vraiment excellent, félicitations, chef. And when you're leaving, repeating the compliment is always appreciated. Merci, c'était excellent. Goes a long way.
Now, the moment of truth, the bill and tipping.
Yeah.
How do we ask for the check and handle the sometimes confusing French tipping culture?
Asking for the bill is simple. L'addition, s'il vous plaît. Easy. Regarding tipping, this is where that cultural knowledge is really key. You can ask, est-ce que le service est compris? Is the service included? And the answer will almost always be yes.
And the reason for that is pretty fundamental to how things work there, isn't it?
It is. French law actually mandates that service charges, it's called service compris, must be included in the price you see on the menu, usually around 15%. So technically, you're not obligated to leave anything extra at all. However, if the service was genuinely friendly or really exceptional, leaving a small pourboire, maybe 1 or 2 euros per person, is seen as a nice gesture of appreciation. But it's not required. It's truly discretionary gratitude.
That makes the whole transaction feel so much clearer, doesn't it? Takes the guesswork out. Okay, let's shift gears to maybe higher stress situations, getting unlost, you're late, you're confused, you need help now.
Right, and even in panic mode, those rules of courtesy still apply, maybe even more so. You absolutely must start with the polite approach. Bonjour, excusez-moi, pouvez-vous m'aider? Just establishing that polite connection is half the battle, honestly.
Okay, polite first. Then we ask for the location. Où est la gare? For the train station, or using that slightly more formal structure, où se trouve la banque? Where is the bank located?
Exactly. And it's helpful to establish context quickly. Is it nearby? C'est loin d'ici? Is it far from here? And then to understand the directions they'll likely give you quite rapidly, you need those core words. À gauche, left, à droite, right, and tout droit, straight ahead. Also useful are près d'ici, near here, and loin d'ici, far from here.
So a local might fire back, vous allez tout droit jusqu'au fleuve, puis tournez à droite après le pont, something like that. Go straight to the river, turn right after the bridge. But what if they speak way too quickly and you've just completely lost the plot?
Yes, that's a very common learning challenge. Don't panic. You need to interrupt politely using your life-saving phrases. Pouvez-vous répéter, s'il vous plaît? Can you repeat, please? And if necessary, parlez plus lentement, s'il vous plaît. Speak more slowly, please. The vast majority of people will really appreciate the effort you're making, and they'll slow down significantly. Remember, they generally want to help you, and you've just given them the tools to do it effectively.
That confidence boost is priceless, knowing you have those tools. Okay, transitioning now to section 4, social grace. If we, say, run into someone at a party or just chatting outside a cafe, what are the sort of unwritten rules of French small talk?
Well, the primary rule is probably restraint, initially anyway. French conversation tends to circle around neutral external topics first. Think weather, food, politics carefully, perhaps travel, hobbies, that kind of thing. Avoid jumping straight into very personal stuff like finances, family health crises, or your deep relationship history.
Okay, keep it light initially. What are some good go-to openers then?
Simple and effective. Comment ça va? How are you? Or a pleasant, safe observation. Quel temps magnifique aujourd'hui? What beautiful weather today. If you know they're visiting, maybe a gentle question like, Vous voyagez beaucoup en France? Do you travel much in France? That works well.
And when it's time to wrap up the interaction, we need that graceful exit.
Yeah, use Ravi de vous rencontrer, which means delighted to meet you, or simply à bientôt. See you soon. But probably the most critical element here, the one that causes the most anxiety for learners, is the formality layer, that vous versus tu distinction.
Ah, yes. This is the high-stakes decision. Can you explain for the listener why getting this wrong isn't just awkward? It could be genuinely rude in many contexts.
Oh, absolutely. Misusing tu can be like a small cultural hand grenade. You absolutely must default to vous in pretty much all situations with new acquaintances, strangers, colleagues, elders, anyone in a professional setting. Vous conveys respect and appropriate distance. Tu, on the other hand, is reserved for children, pets, close friends, and family. Using tu implies an intimacy you haven't earned yet, and using it too early can be seen as quite patronizing or maybe highly presumptuous. It's a big deal.
So the rule is always start with vous.
Right.
How do we know when or if we're allowed to switch? Is there a signal?
You wait for the invitation. It's really that simple. If the other person decides the relationship has warmed up enough, they will invite the switch. Typically, they'll use the phrase, on peut se tutoyer, which means, can we use tutoyer with each other? Waiting for that specific signal is absolutely mandatory social grace. Don't jump the gun.
Okay, on peut se tutoyer. That phrase is a really powerful key to navigating that whole social landscape. All right, finally, let's wrap up with some common daily interactions and those pro tips that can really elevate our fluency.
Sure, just a brief overview of some necessary exchanges. On the phone, remember, allô is only used to answer the phone. It's not like a general hello. If you're asked to wait, you might hear, ne quittez pas, don't hang up. And if you need to call back, je rappellerai plus tard, I'll call back later.
And in a service context, like maybe a bank or an office, clarity is key.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to state your purpose precisely. J'ai un rendez-vous à 10 heures. I have an appointment at 10. Or, je voudrais ouvrir un compte. I'd like to open an account. And if things get complicated, pouvez-vous m'expliquer la procédure? Can you explain the procedure to me?
Makes sense. And for the traveler, the train station is obviously a frequent point of interaction.
Yeah, key phrases there revolve around booking and departure times. Je voudrais un billet pour Lyon. I'd like a ticket to Lyon. À quelle heure part le train? What time does the train leave? And maybe to check if it's a through train. Est-ce que c'est direct? Is it direct?
Got it. Now, for that critical knowledge injection, the pro tips for sounding really authentic, this is about the flow, isn't it? Not just the words themselves. First step, filler words.
Yes. French filler words are essential for sounding relaxed and natural, not like you're reading from a script. Try to integrate words like oh, which is like ben, well, so, alors, so then, and vous savez, naturally into your speech. So instead of just dead silence while you're thinking, you might say, alors, je voudrais une table près de la fenêtre. It just softens the delivery and makes it sound more human.
Okay, that makes sense. Secondly, let's tackle the tricky phenomenon of liaison. This is where the whole rhythm of the language really changes, isn't it?
Oh, a deep dive into this is definitely necessary, even briefly. A liaison happens when a word ending in a normally silent consonant links that sound to the next word, but only if the next word starts with a vowel or a silent H. Take the plural article les. On its own, that S is silent, but before ami, friends, it links. Les amis becomes les amis. That Z sound appears. Same for vous avez, you have, which becomes vous avez. The consonant sound is literally carried over.
And why is getting this right so crucial, especially as you become a more advanced learner?
Well, because if you miss the liaison, your sentences can sound really choppy, quite unnatural. And sometimes you might even change the meaning or cause confusion. For example, saying six hommes, 6 men, without the liaison might sound like six hommes, which is just confusing. The liaison ensures the rhythm is correct, and it makes French flow beautifully, almost like singing sometimes. It's key to the sound of the language.
Right, as part of the music. Finally, let's just revisit those literal translation traps. These often lead to some comedic or just plain awkward errors.
Yes, the most famous trap probably involves expressing bodily states or needs. Like we touched on, in English we say, I am hot, yeah. If you translate that literally as je suis chaud, you're actually saying something like, I am aroused, or I am horny, which is usually not what you mean. The correct, polite way to say you're feeling physically hot is to use the verb avoir, to have. J'ai chaud. I have heat.
Okay, that's a seriously important cultural misstep to avoid right there. Does this having structure apply to other common feelings too?
Absolutely. The French generally have thirst, hunger, and even age. They don't are them in the same way English does. So you don't say je suis faim, I am hungry. You say j'ai faim, I have hunger. You don't say je suis 30 ans, I am 30 years old. You say j'ai 30 ans, I have 30 years. Understanding that French uses this completely different structural logic for these very basic states makes you sound dramatically more native, much more natural.
So if we kind of synthesize all of this, the politeness, the specific phrases, the cultural context, these structural differences, we really do possess a pretty comprehensive communication strategy.
I do. I think you're now equipped for that everyday survival with hopefully a lot more confidence. Just remember, the core of communication is often about attitude and effort. People appreciate you trying.
Yeah, we've covered a lot, everything from transactional confidence in shops and markets, smoother dining experiences, getting directions without panic, and navigating that crucial vous and tu formality. You really are ready to engage.
My final thought really just builds on that idea of viewing conversation not just as a task to get through, but as a genuine interaction. If every bonjour, every merci, and every correct application of vous or tu carry significant weight, both cultural and emotional, then maybe consider what attitude and warmth you bring to that exchange. How does viewing conversation as maybe a small, graceful conversation dance rather than just a stressful transaction fundamentally change the way you approach speaking a new language? Maybe take that mindset with you as you practice these phrases. Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, so you're past the beginner stuff now. You've got the bonjour down, you can order that baguette, find the restroom, no problem. You're ready for the next level. Today, we're moving beyond basic survival French.
Right.
We're diving into let's say, the high-stakes world of logistics, the kind of language that lets you move confidently through France.
That's exactly it. You know, the listener is ready for real, independent travel. So our goal today isn't just vocabulary lists.
Yeah.
It's about giving you the strategic phrasing, how to manage those complex, often time-sensitive interactions. Think transportation hubs, border control, getting essential services.
Yeah.
This is where clarity, efficiency, and maybe above all, really obvious politeness are just non-negotiable.
I like that, strategic phrasing. Okay, so let's start where a trick often starts.
Yeah.
Getting your bearings, figuring out the trains. You've just arrived, maybe.
Right.
You need to know, okay, where is the station and how do I buy a ticket?
Precisely. So say you're getting off a flight or maybe a regional train and you need the main national rail. You start with location questions.
Okay.
Où est la gare? That's where's the train station? Or for local stuff, like a bus. Où est l'arrêt de bus?
Got it. And then, once we've found the ticket counter, our usual phrase for buying things is, où puis-je acheter un billet? Where can I buy a ticket?
Yes.
But you mentioned strategy. What's the key difference here between just a transaction and, well, a smoother interaction?
Yes. It often comes down to, believe it or not, one specific word.
Okay.
And that word is voudrais. It's the conditional tense. Basically means I would like.
Right.
When you're dealing with anyone providing a service, anyone you need something from, you really should always use this conditional. So for that one way to Marseille, you say, je voudrais un aller-sans pour Marseille, s'il vous plaît. Very important. Never, ever, je veux, which is I want.
That feels much more respectful. Okay, so aller simple is one way. What if we need to come back, say, from Lyon?
Then you ask for the round-trip ticket. That's je voudrais un aller-retour pour Lyon.
Aller-retour. Got it.
And once you actually have the ticket, the next hurdle is timing, right?
Yeah.
You can't always just rely on the big board.
No, sometimes they're confusing or things change. We need the specifics. So when does the train actually move?
Exactly. You need two key phrases here. À quelle heure part le train? What time does the train leave?
All right.
And à quelle heure arrive le train? What time does it arrive?
Right. Arrive. Makes sense.
And especially for those longer regional trips, it's always smart to double-check. Confirm your route so you don't miss a key stop. Just ask, est-ce que ce train s'arrête à Bordeaux? Does this train stop in Bordeaux?
That's a good tip. Okay, shifting gears from city-to-city trains to navigating within a city. Places like Paris, the metro map. It can look a bit like spaghetti.
It certainly can.
How do we tackle that? What are the essential phrases?
Well, the main things are asking about the correct line and where you need to change. So, quelle ligne dois-je prendre? Which line should I take? And où dois-je changer de métro? Where do I need to change trains? These are practical lifesavers down there.
Definitely. Now, we're talking high-stakes communication. What if, the tech fails, the map's confusing, you're genuinely lost in a massive station? Is there a sort of universal help me phrase?
Yes, and this is where that extreme deference really comes into play. The universal solvent for travel stress in France is basically triple politeness.
Triple politeness, okay.
You start formal, you signal you need help, and you end with courtesy. Excusez-moi, pouvez-vous m'aider, s'il vous plaît?
Excuse me, can you help me, please?
Exactly. And notice, we're using vous, the formal you. This is really critical in almost all public interactions with strangers.
That's a huge point. It's not just what you say, but how you say it, using the formal form.
Absolutely. Using vous instead of the informal tu in these kinds of service situations. It just signals respect. Respect for the boundaries, for the interaction itself.
Okay, good. We've sorted the train tickets. Let's imagine we've just flown in. That moment you arrive in France, the pressure's on. We need those airport survival phrases. Then the taxi, the hotel check-in.
The airport arrival, yeah. That needs precision. 2 locations you need immediately. Le contrôle des passeports. Here's passport control. And où puis-je récupérer mes bagages? Where can I collect my luggage? These are location questions, so you can be a little more direct, but always start with bonjour.
Always bonjour. Got it. But travel isn't always smooth sailing. What if, panic mode hits? The flight's delayed, or worse, the luggage is gone.
Right. You need to state the problem clearly. Mon vol est retardé. My flight is delayed.
Okay.
For the lost luggage nightmare, it's j'ai perdu ma valise. I lost my suitcase.
Okay.
But here's a strategic tip. If you're really stressed and maybe your French feels shaky, state the problem simply. Show your passport, your baggage tag, and then politely, gently ask, parlez-vous anglais? Do you speak English? Starting with the polite French phrase first often makes people more willing to help you switch languages if they can.
That's smart. Use the courtesy to, potentially get help more efficiently. Okay, we're through customs, heading for a taxi. How do we make sure that ride is smooth and maybe, importantly, honest?
Yeah, this is another key moment for communication. Start politely, always bonjour, then state the destination clearly. Pouvez-vous m'emmener à l'hôtel du Louvre, s'il vous plaît?
Again, using that formal pouvez-vous.
Yes, but the real strategic move here, the one that kind of signals you're not a completely naive tourist.
I like this one.
Is being proactive about the fare. The absolutely essential phrase is, pouvez-vous mettre le compteur? Can you turn on the meter? Asking that right away shows, the local way, you expect the official fare, and you're kind of heading off any attempt at a flat, inflated tourist price. It's not just about saving money, it's asserting informed confidence.
That definitely changes the dynamic. And when we get there...
Just a simple, clear instruction, followed by plenty of thanks. Arrêtez ici, s'il vous plaît. Stop here, please. And then a good, hearty merci beaucoup when you pay.
Okay, made it to the hotel. Check-in. Needs to be smooth, respectful. Lead with the name and reservation.
Exactly. Start with a greeting, bonjour, then state your reservation. J'ai une réservation au nom de Sarah Martin. If you happen to be booking on arrival or just confirming how long you're staying, use that indispensable conditional again. Je voudrais une chambre pour 2 nuits. I would like a room for 2 nights.
Good. What are the practical things, the little details that make a stay comfortable?
Oh, definitely ask about amenities. Est-ce que le petit déjeuner est inclus? Is breakfast included? And confirm the departure logistics. À quelle heure? Et le check-out.
Just getting clarity there avoids surprises later.
Right. And if we need something, like an extra towel, or maybe something isn't working right in the room.
Again, that conditional softens the request nicely. Pouvez-vous m'apporter une serviette, s'il vous plaît? Could you bring me a towel, please?
If something's actually broken, state the problem directly, but still politely. La climatisation ne marche pas. The air conditioning doesn't work. Or if you need a change. J'aimerais changer de chambre. I would like to change rooms. J'aimerais is another lovely conditional. I would love to.
And checking out. How do we handle paying the bill and leave a good final impression?
You'd say, Je voudrais régler ma note, s'il vous plaît. I would like to settle my bill.
Okay.
And then finish with some genuine appreciation. It really acknowledges their effort.
Merci pour votre accueil.
Thank you for your hospitality. That phrase honestly goes a very long way in France.
It feels like a nice touch. Okay, let's switch gears a bit because, let's face it, you can't travel in France without thinking about food.
Absolutely not.
And not all eating happens in formal restaurants. We need those quick, efficient phrases for bakeries, maybe street food stands.
Oh, totally. When you're ordering quickly, precision helps.
Yeah.
Grabbing that classic ham and cheese sandwich. Je prendrai un sandwich jambon fromage, s'il vous plaît. Notice the future tense there. Je prendrai, I will take. It's often used instead of the conditional for quick food orders. It sounds a bit more decisive.
Okay, je prendrai. And then there's that question you always get asked at the counter, the one that trips people up. C'est pour ici ou à emporter? For here or to go.
Ah, yes. That distinction is so key. Pour ici or sur place means for here. Emporter means to take away.
Right.
You really have to know the difference. I actually once accidentally ordered an espresso sur place at this tiny crowded counter.
Oh, no.
Yeah, which meant I then had to kind of stand there, packed in like sardines, trying to sip my coffee quickly when all I wanted was to take it and walk. So know your answer and state it clearly. Emportez, s'il vous plaît.
That's a perfect example of why knowing that matters. Beyond just convenience, though, probably the most critical food communication is about allergies or dietary needs. Safety first.
These are non-negotiables. You absolutely must have these ready. If you have an allergy, je suis allergique aux noix. I'm allergic to nuts. Vegetarian. Je ne mange pas de viande. I don't eat meat.
Right.
Need gluten-free. Est-ce qu'il y a quelque chose sans gluten? Is there something without gluten? Having these practiced just cuts through any confusion, especially in a busy kitchen.
So important. On the flip side, how do we handle the social aspect? Like, what if someone tries to sell us something on the street we don't want? Or a waiter pushes a side dish? How do we say no politely?
The art of the polite refusal. It's huge in French culture. Instead of just a blunt no, soften it. Thank them first.
Okay.
So if a street vendor approaches or the waiter suggests extra wine, try.
C'est très gentil, mais non, merci. That's very kind, but no thank you. Acknowledging the kindness first, then declining, really keeps things smooth.
That's a great phrase. C'est très gentil, mais non, merci. Okay, and we should probably mention the positive side, too. If the food is fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. You should definitely share that enjoyment. As simple as c'est très bon. It's very good. Or c'est parfait. It's perfect.
Or even, j'aime beaucoup ce plat. I really like this dish. Those compliments are always appreciated and, honestly, can make the rest of your interaction even warmer.
Good point. Now, moving beyond speaking, being a truly independent traveler means, well, reading the environment, understanding signs, catching announcements without having a panic attack.
Yeah, signs are your silent guides. You need to internalize the most common ones. Look for entrée, entrance, sortie, exit, and interdit, that means forbidden.
Interdit. Forbidden. Okay.
Also vital are ouvert fermé, open closed, and attention for caution. Honestly, memorize those 5, and you've probably unlocked about 80% of the essential info in public spaces.
That's manageable. Entrée, sortie, interdit, ouvert fermé, attention. What about listening? Those rapid-fire announcements over crackly speakers? What are the key things to listen for?
You're basically filtering for 3 pieces of information: destination, time, and number. Listen for the place name, like Marseille. Then listen for the platform number, voie numéro 3. So you might hear something like, Le train à destination de Marseille partira à voie numéro 3. The train from Marseille will leave from platform 3.
Got it. Focus on destination and platform. And in the airport, if that dreaded delay announcement comes on,
listen for key phrases like dernier appel, last call, and the delay itself, retard 20 minutes. Delay of 20 minutes. Just catching those bits lets you figure out what you need to do without needing to understand every single word.
Right, just the crucial info. Okay, let's move to our final strategic section. You called it the cultural passport. This feels like what really separates a smooth trip from a stressful one.
We really can't emphasize this enough. These 4 rules, they just open doors. Rule number 1, always greet people with bonjour before you ask for anything at all.
Before anything?
Yes. It acknowledges their presence, their humanity, before you launch into your request. If you skip the bonjour, you've immediately started off wrong.
It's like the basic social contract.
Rule number 2, Just overuse s'il vous plaît and merci. You literally cannot be too polite in these situations.
More is more.
Exactly. Rule 3 is about your tone. French culture really values calm, polite tones in public spaces. Keep your voice gentle, keep it even, especially if you're frustrated or trying to sort out something complicated. Raising your voice is seen as deeply disrespectful.
Good reminder. And that small physical thing you mentioned about paying.
Yeah, it sounds minor, but it registers. When you hand over cash or your card, do it respectfully. Hand it to the cashier. Don't just, toss it on the counter and expect them to pick it up. These little things show respect for the service worker, and that respect almost always comes back to you.
Okay, these are great rules. Let's try and pull it all together. Imagine a quick scenario. Say you're doing a spontaneous weekend trip, Paris to Nice. You used your train phrases, you got there. What are maybe 2 practical things you might do using the vocabulary we've covered?
Okay, well first, I'm probably hungry, but I also want to enjoy the view. So I'll grab a quick snack to eat outside. I'll ask for maybe a croissant and a coffee. Je voudrais un croissant et un café, s'il vous plaît.
Using the voudrais. Nice.
Yep. And when they ask if it's for here or to go, I'll say, emporter, merci, to take away, thanks.
Perfect. Quick, efficient, and maybe you want to rent a bike right along the Promenade des Anglais.
Oh, good idea. I'd probably combine the key questions into one polite request. Je voudrais louer un vélo pour la journée. I'd like to rent a bike for the day. Then add, c'est combien? How much is it? And où puis-je le rendre? Where can I return it? All using that formal, polite structure.
Nice. Asking cost and return location up front.
Exactly. And then, at the end of a great day, maybe just say, c'est une journée magnifique. It was a magnificent day.
Love it. This all sounds great in theory, but for someone learning, remembering all these phrases can feel, overwhelming. How do you actually internalize this without your brain exploding? We need a practice mindset.
Right. The key is context and repetition. Don't just learn these off a list. That's not effective.
Okay.
You have to learn them in this scenario. Really picture yourself standing at that hotel desk.
Yeah.
Visualize the counter, the person. Then say the phrases out loud, as if you're actually there. It's like building muscle memory for the language through simulation.
So active visualization is the technique.
Yes. Try what I call the daily routine method.
Yeah.
Pick just one travel setting for the day. The airport check-in maybe, or the taxi ride, or ordering food.
Just one.
Just one. Learn maybe 5 or 6 key phrases specifically for that place. Practice them out loud while really picturing the scene. You'll find those phrases start to pop into your head more automatically when you're actually in that situation later.
That sounds much more manageable. And what about boosting confidence in pronunciation?
Record yourself, use your phone, say the phrases we've talked about today, listen back. Compare how you sound to native speakers online, maybe. Track your progress. And remember, confidence in your delivery is honestly your most powerful passport. Even if you have an accent, if you deliver these polite, strategic sentences with conviction, you will be understood and you will be respected.
That's great advice. Wow, this has been an incredibly practical deep dive. We've really covered that shift from just basic words to strategic language for logistics, managing directions, tickets, airport survival, hotel interactions, quick dining, and those crucial cultural etiquette rules.
Yeah, it's a pretty comprehensive toolkit we've built. And maybe let me just leave you, the listener, with this final thought. The real power of mastering the bonjour, the s'il vous plaît, especially using the formal vous. It's not just about efficiently getting what you need.
Right.
It's about creating a genuine connection. When you, as a traveler, show that respect for the culture through these basic manners, you'll find locals are so much more likely to smile, to soften their approach, maybe offer more detailed help. And very often, they'll even switch into excellent English if they can, just to help you solve whatever problem you have. That ease of interaction, that human connection, that's fostered by your proactive politeness. That's the real secret to truly smooth and, frankly, more memorable travel in France.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're moving past just, flashcards and vocabulary lists for French. If you're learning or maybe planning a trip, our mission here is to get beyond simply memorizing words. We want to explore those essential phrases that actually build connection.
Exactly. It's about making conversations flow better.
Right. Making them smoother, friendlier, and just feeling more natural, whether you're grabbing a coffee, asking for directions, or, trying to make a bit of small talk.
That's really the heart of it. We're trying to bridge the gap between just translating in your head and, integrating culturally.
Okay.
So we pulled together key phrases for common situations, meeting people, asking for help, making polite requests. But the crucial thing, and this often gets missed, is that the words themselves are only part of the picture.
It's more than just the vocabulary list then.
Absolutely. We really need to nail the tone, understand the context, and importantly, use the right manners. Getting those three things right is what really helps you sound confident and, well, connect with French culture.
Okay, so let's dig into that. Based on everything we looked at, it seems like there's one fundamental starting point. This kind of golden rule of French politeness.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
The language itself seems built on this idea of respect, and using those specific polite words correctly just changes the whole vibe of an interaction, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It sets a baseline. And that starts right away with understanding formality, which really hinges on vous versus tu.
The classic tu views challenge.
Right. So for general politeness, anyone you don't know, well, shopkeepers, strangers, maybe colleagues, initially, the key formal phrases are s'il vous plaît for please.
Okay.
And excusez-moi for excuse me. Very important.
So when can I use the informal s'il te plaît? How do I know if I've crossed that line, from formal distance to a relationship where tu is okay? Like with a friend or family?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Using tu too soon with someone you don't know well can come across as overly familiar, maybe even a little rude, like you haven't earned that closeness yet. So the safe bet, if you're unsure, always default to vous and s'il vous plaît. Always. You really can't go wrong with being too polite initially.
So wait for them.
Exactly. Wait for the other person to signal it's okay. If they say something like, on peut se tutoyer, which means we can use tu, then great, the formality barrier is down. But until you get that signal, stick with vous.
That makes sense. We're aiming for politeness, not trying to force closeness. Okay, let's talk about apologizing or getting attention. Excusez-moi versus pardon. To me, they often feel like they could mean the same thing.
They can seem similar, yeah, but the usage is really about context and maybe severity. Pardon is generally quick, soft. You'd use it if you just squeeze and pass someone in a crowded space, or maybe your foot lightly brushes theirs. It's like a small acknowledgement of presence.
Okay, like a oops, sorry kind of thing.
Pretty much. But if you actually bump into someone more significantly, or if you need to interrupt a conversation or stop someone to ask a question, then excusez-moi is definitely the one you need. It's more substantial. It carries the weight of a proper interruption.
Got it. So if I need to interrupt a meeting briefly, I'd use excusez-moi. But squeezing onto a packed metro, a quick aperth, pardon word.
Precisely. And we can't forget the simplest, maybe most powerful word, merci. Thank you.
Essential.
And just a quick note on saying it. Try to make that R sound in merci quite soft, almost in the back of your throat, sort of like you're humming it. Merci, not a hard English merci.
Subtle.
It's a small thing, but it shows a bit more effort linguistically.
So let's put this all together. Picture a classic French scene. Busy little cafe, you need the waiter. Instead of just, waving frantically.
Also don't wave frantically.
Right. You approach it politely.
You start with that interruption phrase, followed by the politeness marker. Excusez-moi, s'il vous plaît.
Excusez-moi, s'il vous plaît.
Perfect. That short phrase does so much. It acknowledges them, apologizes for interrupting their work, and politely asks for their attention, all with the correct formal tone.
Okay, that actually leads us perfectly into mastering that whole cafe culture. Because this seems like a place where, well, tourists can easily sound rude without meaning to, maybe by trying to be too efficient.
Exactly. Ordering food in France isn't just a quick transaction. It's almost a little ritual. And it really requires the right tone from the get-go. The absolute biggest pitfall here involves the verb to want.
Okay. So we've got some key phrases for ordering. Things like je voudrais, I would like. Pour moi, s'il vous plaît, for me, please. And of course, l'addition, s'il vous plaît, the bill, please. But you're saying there's one phrase we must use when actually ordering.
Yes, it's basically mandatory to use the conditional form je voudrais, meaning I would like.
Not je veux, I want.
Absolutely not. Je veux.
Yeah.
That's the key. Je veux literally translates to I want, and if you use that in a cafe or restaurant, you sound demanding, blunt, frankly, quite impolite. It's like you're issuing an order, not making a polite request.
Wow. Okay, so walking up and saying je veux une baguette is actually a bit offensive.
It can definitely be perceived that way, yes, a slight. But if you say je voudrais une baguette, s'il vous plaît, you immediately show respect for the person serving you.
Right. It acknowledges they're doing something for you.
Precisely. That conditional tense signals that understanding. Other useful ones, as you mentioned, pour moi un croissant, s'il vous plaît, if you're ordering for yourself in a group. And the lifesaver, l'addition, s'il vous plaît, when you want the bill. Never just yell l'addition across the room.
Okay, noted. And then after you've had your delicious meal, maybe you even say, c'est délicieux, and you thank them with merci beaucoup. What's the typical polite response you might hear back?
Often, you'll hear, je vous en prie. It's the standard, formal, courteous way of saying you're welcome. It nicely closes that loop of polite exchange.
Got it. Je vous en prie. Okay, let's shift gears now from the cafe table out onto the street, because travel usually means getting a little lost at some point.
Almost inevitably, yes.
So how do we apply these same rules of politeness when we have to, well, interrupt a stranger's day to ask for directions?
This is definitely where stress can spike for learners. But having the right phrases really helps manage that. For the basics of asking where something is, où, where is straightforward.
Okay.
Or slightly more formal, comment aller à?
How do I get to?
Comment aller à?
And if you feel like you've been walking forever and might be lost, est loin? Is it far?
Useful. And then we need the basic direction words, à gauche, left, à droite, right.
And tout droit, straight ahead. Essential navigation tools.
But knowing those words doesn't help much if the person I stop thinks I'm being rude just for asking, right?
That's the crucial bit. Just like getting the waiter's attention, you absolutely have to use that polite opening before launching into your question. Always start with the interruption apology plus the formal greeting. Excusez-moi, monsieur, madame.
Before you even ask where the place is.
Yes. Before you state your need.
Yeah.
It shows you acknowledge you're taking up their time.
Okay, so if I need to find, say, the train station, the full phrase would be, excusez-moi, madame, où est gare, s'il vous plaît. That structure is perfect.
Yep.
Polite, clear, respectful. It shows you understand the cultural expectation. Now, let's talk about the very real situation where you ask perfectly.
Oh.
And the person replies super fast in French, rattling off directions, and you're left completely lost.
That's the moment, the panic moment for every language learner.
It really is. But this is why knowing these next two lifesaver phrases is so important for your confidence. It's okay to ask for clarification, as long as you do it politely.
Okay, what are they?
First one, répétez, s'il vous plaît. Meaning, could you repeat, please?
Répétez, s'il vous plaît.
Okay. And the second, maybe even more useful for directions. Plus lentement, s'il vous plaît. More slowly, please.
Ah, plus lentement, more slowly. That's genius.
And using s'il vous plaît keeps it polite. They see it as a genuine request for help, not a criticism of how they speak.
Those two phrases really could save a situation when communication starts to break down. Okay, let's move from finding our way to spending money, commerce, and courtesy shopping. Does the etiquette shift again once we walk into a shop?
It does, slightly. The shopping environment, especially in smaller boutiques or more established stores, is another place where politeness is really policed socially. Shop assistants are usually helpful, but they definitely expect and appreciate good manners right from the start.
And I think I know the number one rule here. Based on our sources, you absolutely have to greet them first, right?
Yes, that's the cardinal rule of French shopping. Always start with bonjour, monsieur, madame, before you ask anything else, even before you just start browsing intently.
It's just launching into combien ça coûte. How much does it cost? It's a big no-no.
A huge no-no. Culturally, skipping that initial bonjour is considered extremely rude.
But why? Why does missing that one word carry so much weight?
Well, it's because it treats the person behind the counter like they're just part of the furniture or a function, not a person. It suggests you see them as just a source of information or goods, not someone whose presence deserves acknowledgement. Saying bonjour confirms you see them as a participant in the interaction.
That makes total sense when you put it like that. It's about acknowledging the human element. Okay, so I've said bonjour. Now, what if I'm just looking around? How do I politely let them know I don't need help right away without seeming dismissive?
The standard phrase is, je regarde seulement, merci. I'm just looking, thank you. Adding that merci keeps it friendly and polite while indicating you're browsing independently for now.
Je regarde seulement, merci. Okay. And if I decide I do want something...
Then it's simply, je le prends, I'll take it. Clear and direct.
Now, what about bargaining? In some places, like markets maybe, it might be okay, but I wouldn't want to cause offense by being too aggressive. How do the French do it politely?
Right, bargaining can exist, particularly in flea markets, perhaps, but it has to be framed very carefully, very courteously. You'd never say something blunt like, c'est crochet,
Yeah.
That's too expensive.
No direct criticism.
Exactly. Instead, you frame it much more softly, as a gentle question. C'est un peu cher, vous avez une réduction? It's a bit expensive, do you perhaps have a discount? You're sort of opening a negotiation politely, not lodging a complaint.
That distinction, opening a dialogue versus issuing a complaint, seems to run through everything we've discussed. Let's use that idea as we move to our final area. More formal settings like dealing with a hotel or making a phone call.
Yes, formality definitely gets dialed up a notch in these business-like or service contexts. Phone calls, in particular, have their own specific little protocol that's different from greeting someone face-to-face.
Okay, what's the rule for phone calls then? I know we don't just jump straight into bonjour.
That's right. The very first word you'll usually hear or say on the phone, answering or calling, is allô.
Allô, like hello, but specifically for the phone?
Exactly. It acts almost like a check. Is the line connected? Can you hear me? Then if you're answering formally, say at a hotel reception, you'd follow up immediately with your greeting and identification. Bonjour ici, your name de l'hôtel Paris, for example.
Got it. Hello first, then bonjour, and identify yourself. And if I'm the one calling, say, calling the hotel to book a room, am I back to using that polite conditional request?
You absolutely are. Je voudrais réserver une chambre. I'd like to book a room. Is perfect.
Okay.
And when they ask for your name, they'll likely use the formal structure.
Yeah.
Say, à quel nom? Under what name? The main thing is just maintaining that level of heightened respect throughout the call. And always end professionally but warmly, maybe with merci, bonne journée, aquila.
Thank you. Have a good day. This has been incredibly helpful, really digging into the how and the why behind French communication, not just the what to say. It really shows that every time you choose one of these polite phrases, you're actually making a cultural choice.
And it's a choice that makes the whole experience better for you, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I think the big takeaway should be that confidence comes from trying, from actually using these phrases, not necessarily from achieving perfection right away.
Yeah.
Don't stress too much about minor mistakes. The consistent effort to use these core principles of respect, that's what gets noticed and appreciated, much more than perfect grammar without the politeness.
So bringing it all together, what's the bigger picture meaning for you listening right now?
Well, I think if you look at the bigger picture, the real beauty of learning a language is about connection, isn't it? Every single time you consciously choose to say merci or excusez-moi or especially je voudrais instead of je veux, you're actively choosing to engage with people respectfully on their cultural terms. And that subtle but consistent effort, it just elevates your entire interaction, your whole travel experience.
So to leave you with a final thought, maybe something to chew on.
Yeah.
Challenge yourself to start making these phrases part of your routine right now. Don't wait until you're actually stepping off the plane in Paris. Practice them out loud. Maybe even try using s'il vous plaît mentally or even out loud sometimes when you order your coffee here, even in English.
Kind of internalize the feeling.
Exactly. Imagine you're thinking je voudrais before you decide to buy something online. That constant repetition, really internalizing these crucial cultural signals that might just be the biggest secret to sounding and feeling more fluent and genuinely confident when you do speak French. Welcome back to the deep dive. So if you've been putting in the time with French, you're probably past just the very, very basics. You know, you can get your croissant, maybe ask where the bathroom is, and you definitely know bonjour. But today, we're really aiming higher. We want to move beyond that sort of tourist safety net and dive right into the real stuff, the daily immersion. Our mission, well, it's pretty straightforward. Give you the language tools and maybe more importantly, the cultural know-how to actually blend in a bit more, handle those social chats, navigate the everyday stuff with some, you know, genuine French flair.
That's exactly it. I mean, the real value here is getting away from the textbook, right? Getting into actual life. We're not just going to list vocab. It's more about the social shortcuts, the things that let you go from just like memorizing phrases to really living the language, whether it's, you know, handling a tricky interaction at the train station or just trying to connect with someone new.
Yeah.
These little bits of knowledge, they're your way into real French communication.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack this then, because it feels like everything we're going to cover today kind of rests on one big thing, and that's connection and, well, politeness. In French, starting off right with the proper level of respect, the right warmth, that seems like half the challenge, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It sets expectations right away. If you start politely, you'll find people are just infinitely more patient if you stumble over your words later on.
Right. Okay, so let's start where most interactions begin. Theme 1. social conversations. For that instant connection, that friendliness, you got to lead with it. We all know, comment ça va? How are you? And the standard reply, ça va bien, merci. Et vous? I'm good, thank you. And you?
Mm.
And meeting someone new, enchanté, nice to meet you, that's pretty much essential.
Exactly. And while those are the building blocks, we have to talk about maybe the biggest cultural hurdle right away.
Yeah.
It's that formality thing, the whole vous versus tu dis vide.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you're serious about immersion, getting this right is, well, it's non-negotiable. And it's a bit more complex than just formal versus informal.
Okay, tell us more to that complexity, because I think a lot of learners just hear tu is for friends, vous is for strangers. Is that too simple?
That's a decent starting point, yeah. But the reality is more nuanced. Vous is definitely required for formal settings, talking to older people, authority figures, and crucially, in any service interaction. The baker, shopkeeper, waiter, always vous. You stick with vous until you're explicitly invited to switch. Using tu too early, even by accident, it can come across as presumptuous, maybe even a little rude.
Okay. So let's say I meet a new colleague, maybe at a big company, they're roughly my age. Is it still safer to just default to vous?
Always. Always start with vous. It just establishes that professional respect and distance. If that colleague wants to switch to the more familiar tu, they'll be the one to suggest it. They might ask something like, on peut se tutoyer? Can we use tu? Think of it as like a verbal handshake, an invocation to be a bit less formal. If they don't offer, just keep using vous.
That's a really key protocol. So if I'm talking to someone I've just met, maybe a local, at some community event, I probably wouldn't use the casual comment ça va. I'd level it up to comment allez-vous? Is that right?
Exactly. Spot on. That tiny shift, it carries a lot of weight. Imagine, meeting someone at a neighborhood gathering. You smile, approach them. Bonjour, enchanté. Comment allez-vous? It's warm, it's polite, and it's perfectly calibrated for that situation. Honestly, confidence in using the right pronoun is often more important than having, super complex grammar.
Okay, so let's see how these quick exchanges might flow in a more casual setting, maybe once you've gotten a bit familiar with someone.
Right, so now maybe tu is appropriate if you could ask code tu habites ici? Do you live here?
Right.
And the reply might be simple. Oui, côté du parc.
Yes.
Near the park.
That little back and forth, even if the grammar's simple, that's what starts bridging the gap, between just studying French and actually using it to connect. Okay, connecting is one thing, but just getting places, that's another challenge. Let's shift gears. Theme 2, transportation. Taxis, the metro, trains. These can be high-stress moments where you really need the right words.
Yeah, this is pure practicality. You just need those functional phrases ready to go. If you're lost underground, you need.
Où est la station de métro la plus proche? Where is the nearest metro station? Or booking a longer trip. Je voudrais un billet pour Paris, s'il vous plaît. I'd like a ticket to Paris, please.
And definitely for trains, asking about times is critical.
Absolutely. You should memorize. À quelle heure part le train? What time does the train leave?
And if you're planning ahead, combien de temps ça prend? How long does it take? Oh, and in a taxi, knowing how to say stop politely, arrêtez ici, s'il vous plaît. Very useful.
Now, here's something the source material really emphasized, something you call the politeness hack. It tackles that super common mistake travelers make, just blurting out English when they panic or get frustrated. The advice was clear. Always, always start in French, even just a word or two.
Yes. This hack works so well because it signals respect. Respect for the language, for the culture. Just starting with a bonjour, excusez-moi, that's like your linguistic handshake. Even if you immediately have to ask, parlez-vous anglais? That initial effort makes the other person so much more likely to be helpful, to be kind. Launching straight into English, it can feel demanding almost, entitled.
That's such an interesting cultural point. We might see just getting to the point as efficient, in the US or UK. But here, it sounds like the etiquette, that opening ritual, matters more than just speed.
Precisely. Take that taxi example again. Instead of just shoving a phone with an address at the driver, you start the interaction respectfully. Bonjour, je voudrais aller à la gare, s'il vous plaît. Hello, I'd like to go to the train station, please. Opo. That tone, that basic politeness, it changes the whole dynamic from purely transactional to, civil.
Okay, let's do a quick practice run. I'm at the train station, need the departure time for Lyon. What do I say?
Right. You walk up to the counter, make eye contact, and say, Bonjour, excusez-moi, à quelle heure part le train pour Lyon? They tell you the time. You give a clear, strong merci beaucoup. And they'll probably respond with something like the very standard, very polite, Je vous en prie. You're welcome. It's simple stuff, but when done right, it's flawless.
Okay, getting around smoothly is one piece. feeling comfortable, integrating a bit, that's the next level.
Well,
Let's move to theme 3, everyday small talk. This feels like where you show a bit more personality, keep things light.
yes, French small talk is really key for fitting in. It tends to stick to pretty light topics, weather, food, maybe observations about the place you're in, and often it's quite positive. So phrases like "Quel temps magnifique aujourd'hui?" What beautiful weather today. Or maybe "J'adore le café français." I love French coffee. Simple observations. And always try to wrap up these quick chats with a nice send-off. Bonne journée. Have a good day.
Now, here's a nuance that I know trips up a lot of English speakers. French small talk apparently avoids getting too personal too quickly. The sources strongly warned against that classic Anglo-Saxon opener. So what do you do?
Oh, absolutely. That's a big one. Asking about someone's job, or worse, how much money they make, it's generally seen as quite intrusive in a casual first meeting. That kind of information sharing is usually reserved for people you actually know. So the trick is to focus on the shared environment, the thing you both are experiencing. Instead of asking about their career, start with an observation.
Il fait beau aujourd'hui, n'est-ce pas? It's nice weather today, isn't it?
Right.
Much safer.
That's really useful advice. So if I want to gently keep the conversation going, I should stick to things about the place, the context.
Exactly. Keep it observational, keep it local. You can try. Vous venez souvent ici. Do you come here often? Yeah. Or maybe, vous aimez ce quartier? Do you like this neighborhood? Plaisir. Yeah. Plaisir. But they don't pry into personal details like finances or family stuff right off the bat. Okay, picture this. I'm at a cafe, waiting for my coffee. I could turn to the person next to me and just say, Quels sont agréables aujourd'hui, n'est-ce pas?
Perfect. And chances are you'll get a friendly, engaged reply, something like, Oui, un peu de soleil. Yes, finally a bit of sun.
Yeah.
And there you go. That's authentic, positive connection built on just noticing the world around you.
Okay, let's step out of the casual cafe vibe and into maybe a more structured setting. Theme 4, formal settings and professional Polish. Business communications, meetings. This requires a different level of finish.
Definitely. French professional communication is typically quite structured. It really values explicit politeness. It's not just about being direct. You have to be properly, demonstrably respectful.
Which means sticking with vous exclusively, right? And using specific, almost formulaic phrases. What are the key ones for work?
Well, the greeting should be formal. Comment allez-vous aujourd'hui? How are you today? Expressing thanks needs the right weight. Je vous remercie pour votre temps. Thank you for your time. Very important. If you're starting a project together, show some enthusiasm politely. Je suis ravi de travailler avec vous. I'm happy, delighted to work with you.
And always close professionally. Bonne réunion. Have a good meeting. Or bonne fin de journée.
Have a good end to your day.
The source material really drove home the importance of email etiquette here. Like, you can't just sign off with best or thanks. Those formal closings are a big deal.
They're absolutely critical. Email closings in French are often like the most structured part. They signal the hierarchy, the level of respect. Cordialement, kind regards, is your standard safe bet. Always appropriate. If you need to show a bit more deference, maybe to a senior manager or someone you're asking a big favor from, you might use bien à vous. Yours truly, sincerely. Just skipping these kinds of formal sign-offs. It can seem rushed, overly informal, maybe even a bit dismissive or rude.
That explains a lot about why French business emails sometimes look so different from our quick back-and-forth ones in English. It's about maintaining that respectful distance. Let's quickly practice that initial meeting moment in a professional context.
Okay, you're meeting a new business contact. Extend your hand, good eye contact, and say, Bonjour, enchanté de vous rencontrer. Hello, delighted to meet you. And the expected, polished reply you'd likely get is, Moi aussi, ravi de faire votre connaissance. Me too. Delighted to make your acquaintance. It's formal, it's articulate, and it sets a professional tone right from the start.
Got it. My final theme. Let's bring it back to the social side, but with a purpose. Theme 5, talking about time and making plans. Because actually arranging to meet up for dinner, coffee, whatever, that seems like the most natural way to practice, right?
Oh, absolutely. This is where the language starts weaving into your actual social life. So you need confidence with time-related phrases. Asking the time right now is quelle heure est-il? But asking when something happens, like a meeting, is à quelle heure? And you need your basic time markers. Ce soir, tonight, demain, tomorrow, la semaine prochaine, next week. And the simple invitation. On se voit demain. Shall we see each other tomorrow? Casual, effective.
I find that actually making the invitation and accepting it smoothly, that can feel a bit awkward for learners, making it sound natural and not like you're reading from a script.
Yeah, let's run through a quick light example. This would likely be with two. If it's a friend, you could offer, "Tu dîner ensemble ce soir? Do you want to have dinner together tonight?" Your friend might reply warmly,
Avec plaisir, à quelle heure?
"With pleasure. What time?"
See, you suggest a time, maybe not super precise. Vers 8 heures, around 8 o'clock. Ok. And then seal the deal. Parfait, à ce soir. Perfect, see tonight. See. It's efficient, but still warm and friendly. So, wrapping this all up, what's the big takeaway here? It feels like the main message from this deep dive is, you might already know a lot of French words, but the real goal is embedding these social rules, this politeness, into how you actually speak. It's as much how you say things in French as what you say.
Exactly that. It's about integrating these phrases, these approaches, into your daily thinking. Repeat those polite openings, the closings. Keep that vous versus tu distinction front of mind. And honestly, celebrate the small victories. Every time you navigate one of these exchanges correctly with the right level of respect, that's a win. That kind of consistency with the cultural side. It'll boost your fluency much faster than just memorizing more vocab, believe me.
You know, this whole exploration kept coming back to the power of that very first moment, the initial exchange. Politeness really does seem like the ultimate French grammar hack. So here's a final thought for you to consider. If communication, connection, and respect are what truly matter, how might focusing almost entirely on mastering just the tone and that initial greeting, nailing that perfect bonjour, excusez-moi, how might that change your whole approach to learning any new language, even one with seemingly complex grammar? Focus on nailing the opening. You might find the rest of the conversation just flows that much easier. Welcome back to The Deep Dive. We're the place that, takes complex stuff and makes it immediately useful. If you're heading to a French-speaking country, maybe you've got bonjour down, maybe how to get a coffee. But today, we're skipping all that. We're diving straight into the really practical, maybe the most vital French phrases, the ones you need when things actually go wrong.
Yeah, exactly. It's about moving beyond just ordering food.
Our sources give us a pretty clear roadmap here, moving past the pleasantries right to the language you need in a crisis. Think medical emergencies, travel chaos, or just that horrible feeling of being lost. So this deep dive, it's really your shortcut to feeling, prepared for the unexpected.
And, that shift in thinking from trying to sound fluent to just solving the problem, that's so important. When you're stressed, just being able to say what's wrong clearly, even if it's not perfect French, it just cuts down the panic hugely. These phrases aren't about showing off your language skills. They're about being efficient, staying safe. They're like your linguistic first aid kit. Turns fear into something manageable. Okay, let's unpack this, starting with section 1. Immediate crisis, like asking for help right now.
If you're facing a real emergency, someone's hurt, there's an accident, you see a fire you don't really have time for. Excusez-moi. What are those absolute core phrases, the ones that signal serious trouble immediately?
Right. You need words that cut through everything else. The absolute number one non-negotiable phrase is au secours.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. It just means help. Plain and simple. And you've got to say it loud, firmly. It's the universal distress signal, really. After that, you need to be specific if you can. If it's medical, you absolutely need. Appelez une ambulance. Call an ambulance.
Okay. And if it's maybe less clear what's needed, but you just need someone to do something, then j'ai besoin d'aide, I need help, is the go-to general call. And of course, one everyone recognizes, police for rent.
Right.
Police for rent.
Mm-hmm. And don't forget getting lost. That can feel like a real emergency. So knowing, with un mot vital, where is the hospital, is good. Or even just stating simply, je suis perdu if you're male, or je suis perdu if you're female. I'm lost. That's essential.
You mentioned tone earlier, and our sources really hammer this point about delivery. What's the key insight there? How should these calls actually sound?
Well, what's fascinating here is how urgency kind of overrides normal politeness rules. Usually French interactions have this structure, this politeness. But in a genuine emergency, that goes out the window for a second.
Yeah.
Directness, clarity, that's what matters. You have to be firm, loud, direct. If you whisper, au secours, people might just think you dropped your keys or something. You need conviction.
So getting it out loud and clear is more important than perfect grammar in that moment?
Absolutely. Now, okay, once things maybe calm down a tiny bit, or if you're asking someone else to make the call, then you can bring back a little structure. It helps keep things cooperative. Start with, excusez-moi, state the problem quickly, then the action needed.
Right. Give me an example. Like you see someone fall down the metro stairs.
Okay, yeah. You'd run up to someone nearby and say, "Excusez-moi, appelez une ambulance, s'il vous plaît." Si. Even in that rush, adding the "s'il vous plaît," please, it's powerful. It's still a command, but it's respectful. It makes people want to help immediately.
That makes total sense. Focuses on the action. Okay, but let's think about something slightly different, more official, like reporting a crime or needing security. It's not just shouting police, is it? You need to know who you're actually dealing with.
That's a really good point, and something a lot of phrase books miss. It's a bit nuanced. In France, for instance, you've basically got two main types of police. There's the police nationale, usually in the bigger cities, urban areas. Then there's the gendarmerie nationale, more common in smaller towns, rural spots. They're often military.
Okay, so dialing 112, the European emergency number, or 17 locally, gets you the right people anyway.
Yes, it will connect you, but knowing the difference helps if you're, say, trying to find the actual station on foot or asking a local where to go.
So asking where the poste de police works in Paris, but maybe out in the countryside, I might hear gendarmerie instead.
Exactly. Just being aware of both terms saves confusion, speeds things up when it matters, and if you can combine that knowledge with saying, "J'ai besoin d'aide immédiate," I need immediate help, then you've clearly communicated both where you need help and how urgent it is.
Okay, that level of detail is actually really helpful. It makes it stick. Right, let's shift gears a bit, moving away from those high adrenaline moments to the more common, maybe just more annoying issues like feeling unwell while traveling. Section 2, health situations and pharmacy visits.
Yeah, this is where, as our sources point out, a little preparation can save you days of feeling miserable. Minor illnesses happen.
Je me sens pas bien. I don't feel well. That just sets the scene.
And then you need to actually say what's wrong, right? If you walk into a pharmacy, they need specifics.
Exactly.
You need those building blocks. Exactly. You need those building blocks. J'ai mal à la tête. Headache. Exactly. You need those building blocks. J'ai de la fièvre. Fever. Exactly. You need those building blocks. J'ai mal au ventre. Stomachache. Exactly. You need those building blocks. J'ai mal à la gorge. Sore throat. That's a common one. And really important for travelers. J'ai une allergie. I have an allergy.
Yeah.
And here's something vital to grasp. The role of the French pharmacist, the pharmacien. They're not just dispensing pills like in some places.
They're highly trained, often your first stop for medical advice. They can give you loads of things that might need a prescription elsewhere.
I've heard that they're really knowledgeable.
Yeah.
So how do you approach them?
Yeah.
Respectfully, efficiently.
Always start with bonjour.
Yeah.
Every time. Then just state your need, your symptom. So something like, bonjour, j'ai mal à la gorge. Hello, I have a sore throat. Je voudrais quelque chose pour la douleur, s'il vous plaît. I'd like something for the pain, please.
Direct, but polite. Okay, what if the pharmacist thinks you need more, or if it feels more serious? How do you ask to see a doctor? The standard polite way is,
Je voudrais voir un médecin, s'il vous plaît. I would like to see a doctor, please.
Now here's a key thing about the system. If you're in serious pain, but maybe it's not life-threatening, like maybe you think you broke your wrist, you might go to the urgencies, the emergency room. But for just feeling generally unwell, finding a GP, a médecin généraliste, can be a bit tricky. You often can't just walk into any clinic.
Okay, so it's not like the US or UK sometimes where you might find a walk-in clinic easily.
Not always, no. Our sources mention services like SOS Midsun. They do house calls or have clinics for when your regular doctor isn't available, like nights or weekends. So if you're struggling to find someone, asking at your hotel or your host, connaissez-vous SOS Médecin? Do you know SOS Médecin? Could be a really useful shortcut. Wow, that goes way beyond just vocabulary. That's understanding how to actually get care. That's huge for a traveler. And going back to the pharmacy, our sources mentioned that nice little closing phrase.
Oh, yeah. Once you've paid and said, merci beaucoup, thank you very much, the pharmacist will often say, bon établissement.
Bon établissement.
Yeah, it means get well soon. It's just a lovely touch, isn't it? It shows that level of personal care. Definitely. Okay, moving on. Section 3, the logistics crisis. I think this is probably the most common travel stressor for many people, losing stuff. Travel plans going completely wrong, that administrative panic. Oh, the absolute terror of j'ai perdu mon passeport, I've lost my passport. Just being able to spit that out immediately is critical. And you need to know the words for different things. Mon portefeuille, wallet, mes clés, key, or the one that causes real panic today, mon téléphone portable, my cell phone.
Right. And once you realize it's gone, what's the next immediate question? Where to report it or look for it?
Exactly. Où est le bureau des objets trouvés ailleurs? Where is the lost and found office? You need that one. And when you're talking to police or any official about this, you need to signal it's serious, but without getting angry or aggressive. The phrase, c'est très important, it's very important, does that. It flags the severity, especially for documents like passports, without sounding demanding. So let's picture it. You're at the airport police desk. The strategy is calm, clear steps. Bonjour, j'ai perdu mon passeport, c'est très important. Que dois-je faire? Hello, I've lost my passport, it's very important. What should I do? APU. Perfect. That gives them everything. Greeting, problem, severity, request for action. That calm approach often actually speeds things up. When you're dealing with bureaucracy, honestly, patience, delivered politely in French, is like a superpower.
Okay, let's use that same idea for travel nightmares. Delayed flights, canceled trains. These drive people crazy. How do we talk about that frustration? Well, you start with the facts, stated simply. Mon vol est retardé. My flight is delayed. Or if you're asking for confirmation, le train est annulé. Is the train canceled? And for problems with bookings, like at a hotel, j'ai une réservation, mais il y a un problème. I have a reservation, but there's a problem.
See how neutral that is? It avoids blaming anyone and just invites them to help find a solution.
Yeah, and this whole politeness when frustrated thing seems really key here. It's totally natural to be furious when your plans are ruined, but getting angry just doesn't work well, does it?
It really doesn't. The cultural expectation, even when they've messed up, is that you keep your cool. Instead of blowing up, you use phrases that acknowledge there's an issue but firmly push for a solution, starting with excusez-moi or even je comprends, mais I understand, but shows you see their side, maybe, but you still need your problem solved.
Okay, let's play out that hotel scenario. You're exhausted, you arrive, they say the room's not ready, you booked it ages ago, you feel totally justified being annoyed. Okay, so in French, you'd express that calmly, maybe a little coolly, but not aggressively. You could say something like, je comprends qu'il y a un problème. I understand there's a problem.
Mais ma chambre devait être prête, but my room was supposed to be ready. J'aimerais savoir combien de temps cela va prendre. I'd like to know how long this will take.
Firm, but controlled.
Exactly. And if they apologize and say, 20 minutes, madame, monsieur. 20 minutes, monsieur. Just a calm response like, d'accord, merci beaucoup. Okay, thank you very much. Keeps things civil. You've made your point, got the information, but you haven't, burned that bridge. That measured tone is strategically smart. You might need their help again later. That's a really powerful way to put it. Linguistic de-escalation. Okay, we've hit major crises, health stuff, logistics nightmares. This brings us nicely to section 4, the confidence toolkit.
Because ultimately, it's not just memorizing phrases, is it?
Yeah.
It's about having a reliable strategy when things go sideways.
Yeah, the biggest benefit is controlling your own emotional response. Just knowing you have these short, direct phrases ready, it kind of primes your brain for action, not panic, when that language barrier hits.
But we have to talk about the big fear, right? What if you just freeze? What if you forget the phrase under pressure?
Oh, absolutely. That's a real fear. And the advice here is pretty simple. Use whatever you've got.
Cobble words together.
Yeah.
Use gestures, clear ones. Or, throw in a key English word if you absolutely have to. French speakers, honestly, despite the stereotypes, usually appreciate that you're trying.
Okay, so how do you signal that? How do you buy yourself some patience? You need 2 absolutely crucial little phrases. First, je parle un peu français. I speak a little French.
Yeah.
That manages expectations right away. Good one. And the second, for when they reply too fast or use words you don't know.
Pouvez-vous répéter, s'il vous plaît? Can you repeat, please? Simple, clear, essential. And our sources mention one phrase in particular, the ultimate sort of tension melter. The one sentence that just invites kindness when you're really struggling. Ah, yes. This one is gold. It shows respect for the language, respect for the person helping you. It's like the ultimate peace offering when you're linguistically lost.
Excusez-moi, je ne parle pas bien français, mais j'essaie. Excuse me, I don't speak French well, but I'm trying.
Mais j'essaie.
But I'm trying.
That little phrase, j'essaie, I am trying, it's incredibly powerful in French culture. It signals sincerity, effort, and it almost always gets you patience, kindness. Maybe they'll slow down for you. It turns that moment of failure into, a human connection.
So what does this all mean? It feels like the difference between a travel disaster and just a manageable problem can come down to maybe 5 or 6 short, direct sentences. This deep dive really shows that being prepared isn't about having perfect grammar. It's about having a clear plan for immediate communication when the stakes are high. Absolutely. And the more you just mentally walk through these scenarios, the more automatic those key phrases become. When the adrenaline hits, that automatic response is what saves you time, reduces errors. That quick, useful response, even if it's not grammatically perfect, that is fluency in action when it counts.
So the final thought for you, the listener.
Yeah, think about that power of directness when you're stressed. How does just having their simplest, most essential phrases ready actually change how well you can communicate? Regardless of how much French you think you know overall, remember, this kind of knowledge, it's really about action, not perfection.
Yeah. Welcome to the deep dive. So you've gotten past the very first steps in French. You've got those basics down.
Mm-hmm. Ordering coffee, asking for directions that's sorted. Your French works, it gets the job done.
Exactly. It's functional, transactional. But maybe it still sounds a little textbook.
That's what we hear a lot. You want to move beyond that, sound less like you're just visiting and more like you actually, belong there.
Right. So our mission today is all about that, making your French sound natural. We're diving deep into the phrases for real everyday life, shopping, chatting, just
living. We've pulled together insights from, quite a few sources, cultural guides, tips from native speakers. The goal is to turn that grammar knowledge into actual confident speech that sounds right in context.
Okay, let's jump in. Hashtag take IOI. Essential French for shopping.
Wow.
First up, the shops.
Yeah.
Whether it's a market in Lyon or a boutique in Paris, shopping's a big one. But the way you do it feels, a bit different, right?
Very different. Politeness structures the whole interaction, and it starts always with the greeting. Bonjour! You absolutely have to say it before anything else. Launching straight into I want this without that bonjour, it's considered quite rude, actually. It starts things off poorly, no matter how good your accent is.
Okay, so bonjour first. Got it. Gate opened. Now, let's say you see something you like, maybe a sweater. How do you ask to try it on politely?
Right, keeping that courtesy going, he'd say, Bonjour, je voudrais essayer ceci, s'il vous plaît.
Hello, I'd like to try this on, please. And notice that s'il vous plaît attacked right on the end there.
Exactly, and using je voudrais, I would like, that conditional tense. It's softer, sounds much more natural than just saying, I want.
Makes sense. And if it's, say, a shirt, but maybe not your size?
You need to ask, avez-vous cette chemise en taille moyenne? Do you have this shirt in medium size? Straightforward.
Okay, useful. But now, the price tag. The potentially awkward bit. How do we ask?
Simple question. Combien ça coûte? How much does it cost?
But what if the answer is, wow. Okay, that's a lot. You need to react, but carefully.
This is where it gets interesting and where the cultural insight really comes in. The phrase is, c'est trop cher, it's too expensive.
Right.
But how you say it is everything. If you just say it flatly, or maybe with a bit of, bluntness we might use sometimes in English.
It could come across badly.
Yeah, maybe aggressive, or like you're criticizing the shop itself. The sources strongly suggest saying, c'est trop cher with a bit of a smile. Maybe a little sigh.
A smile. When you're saying it's too expensive, isn't that weird? Like you're trying to haggle.
It's less about haggling, more about charm, I suppose. Diffusing any potential tension. It's like you're acknowledging, wow, this is beautiful. I see why it costs this much, but oof, that's just not in my budget. It becomes this shared little moment of realism.
Ah, I see. So it's social rather than confrontational.
Exactly. And, sometimes that touch of humor, that shared moment, might actually prompt the vendor to offer a tiny discount. Not always, but it happens. Or at least they'll respond more warmly.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. So you've decided price is okay, you want it.
Simple. Je le prends. I'll take it.
And the final step, paying. You need to check about cards, right? Especially in smaller places.
Definitely. Cash isn't always assumed. So a crucial phrase, puis-je payer par carte? Can I pay by card? Just locks down that last detail smoothly. Hashtags tag 2, social conversations, and small talk.
All right, so we've got something politely. Now, let's carry that vibe into just chatting. Small talk. The French are quite known for appreciating a bit of light conversation, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. It's sort of the oil in the social machine. At the bakery, waiting in line, meeting someone new, a little bit of charming chat goes a long way.
So what are the go-to topics? The safe bets?
Weather is universal, isn't it? You can always ask, que temps fait-il aujourd'hui? What's the weather like today?
Or if it's obviously nice out.
You can make an affirming observation, which is often nicer, actually. C'est une belle journée, n'est-ce pas? It's a beautiful day, isn't it? That little n'est-ce pas invites agreement, makes it feel collaborative.
Nice. Okay, moving slightly beyond the weather. Maybe asking about them.
Yeah.
But still keeping it light.
Right. You can ask about their connection to the place, using the formal vous, remember? Vous aimez cette ville? Do you like this city?
Or maybe if you think they work nearby.
Vous travaillez ici? Do you work here? Simple, direct, but polite with the vous. And sticking with vous is key for learners. Better to be a bit too formal than too familiar too soon.
Good point. Always err on the side of formal. Now, what about actually meeting people? First-time introductions.
A nice, warm standard is c'est sympa de vous rencontrer. It's nice to meet you. Straightforward, friendly.
And if you run into them again, not the first meeting anymore?
Slight change. Content de vous revoir, Bastien. Happy to see you again. And remember that tiny pronunciation shift, content for male, content for female. It's subtle, but it's there.
Okay, now circling back to something you mentioned earlier, the politeness markers. S'il vous plaît and merci beaucoup. Why are they so vital? It feels like we're saying please and thank you constantly.
This is really the big takeaway, the mistake non-natives often make without realizing. In French, that explicit politeness isn't just decoration, it's almost grammatical.
How so?
Well, in English, tone does a lot of work, right? Pass the salt can sound polite depending on how you say it. In French, if you just use the command form without the s'il vous plaît, it often sounds blunt, demanding even.
Okay. So the words themselves carry the politeness, not just the intonation.
Exactly. Adding s'il vous plaît makes it a request, not an order. And merci beaucoup, thank you very much, provides that necessary sense of closure and appreciation. Skipping them just makes your French sound cold, a bit abrupt, which is the opposite of the natural warmth we're aiming for.
Right. Explicit politeness equals warmer, more natural French. Hashtag tag 3, social gatherings and invitations. Okay, let's scale up the social situation. Dinners, parties, birthdays, higher stakes maybe. Etiquette feels even more important here.
Definitely. Invitations especially have their own little dance. Knowing how to extend one or respond to one gracefully is pretty key.
So how do you even start? Before inviting someone, you need to know if they're free.
Yeah, the preliminary check. Casual standard. Vous êtes libre ce soir? Are you free tonight? Simple enough. Then the invitation itself. Let's say dinner at your place.
Keep it warm, welcoming. Voulez-vous venir dîner chez moi? Would you like to come have dinner at my place? Using voulez-vous, that polite form again.
Okay, but what if you can't make it? You have to decline. How do you do that without sounding dismissive?
Right, you can't just say no. You need to acknowledge the invitation kindly. The classic polite refusal is, j'aimerais bien, mais je suis occupé.
I'd love to, but I'm busy.
Exactly. That structure, I'd like to, B-U-T, is gold. It shows appreciation before declining. Very important.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, fast forward, you accepted the invitation. You arrive at their door. What's the first thing out of your mouth?
The essential arrival phrase, the mannerism spotlight moment. You must thank them for the actual invitation. Merci de m'avoir invité.
Thank you for inviting me, even before you say hello properly.
Pretty much immediately upon arrival, yes. It shows you appreciate the gesture of being invited into their home. Excellent manners. Non-negotiable, really. Good to know. And then the evening's winding down. You want to leave on a high note.
Express sincere appreciation for their hospitality. C'était une soirée merveilleuse. It was a wonderful evening.
Always nice to hear. Now, you mentioned a tip about a tangible gesture.
Yes. The expert tip from the sources. When you're invited to someone's home in France, it's customary and very appreciated to bring a small gift.
Like what? Nothing too complicated?
No, keep it simple. Flowers are classic. A bottle of wine is good, maybe a small dessert or chocolates. It's just a little token that says thank you for hosting, reinforces that social respect.
Nice touch. So we've handled the whole cycle, checking availability, inviting, declining, arriving, thanking, and gifting.
Covers the main points for social gatherings, yes. Hashtag tag 5AU, at home and daily life fluency.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. We've talked about interactions out in the world. What are the French you use? Well, just living. At home, doing chores, the mundane stuff.
This is where you can get that even more natural sound, because it's about repetition. These are phrases tied to actions you do all the time. They're fantastic for practice because they link the language directly to your physical reality.
Yeah, I like this because it's not stuff you typically focus on in class, is it? It's the soundtrack to actually living in French.
Precisely. Think about chores. Instead of just doing the dishes, try saying it out loud. Je fais la vaisselle. I'm doing the dishes.
Or heading out the door for errands.
Je dois faire les courses. I need to do the shopping, or I need to run errands.
Tidying up.
Je range ma chambre. I'm tidying my room. Simple actions, simple present tense verbs, but saying them connects the language to the action.
And what about just describing how you feel? You know, those little internal state checks we do?
Great examples. Feeling tired, instead of just thinking it, say, Je suis fatigué. I'm tired.
And maybe the follow-up thought.
Right. Deciding to take a break. Je me repose un peu. I'm taking a short rest. Or literally, I rest myself a bit.
This all leads perfectly into what the sources call the game changer technique for fluency. It's about making that connection physical.
Right, exactly. It's that kinesthetic link. When you say the phrase while you are doing the action, your brain starts to skip the English to French translation step.
How does that work?
It learns to associate the physical action directly with the French phrase. The action becomes the phrase in your mind.
So if I'm chopping vegetables, I shouldn't think, okay, I am cutting vegetables, translate.
No, just say out loud as you do it, Je coupe les légumes.
Or starting dinner.
Je prépare le dîner. Just say it. The sources really emphasize turning your daily routine into a sort of running French commentary. Looking for your keys. Où sont mes clés? Where are my keys?
That constant link between doing and saying. That's what builds real automatic fluency, much more than just flashcards.
Absolutely. It transforms your whole environment into a language learning space, not just your dedicated study time.
That's genuinely practical advice. Turn your home into a French lab. #V.
Yeah.
Application and key vocabulary.
Okay, let's try to pull some of this together. A practical application exercise. The classic cafe scenario. It uses that politeness structure we talked about.
Right, and this kind of simple, polite interaction.
Yeah.
It works almost anywhere. Bakery, post office, little shops. It just sets the right tone immediately.
Okay, so you walk up to the counter. What's first?
Eye contact, smile, and the mandatory greeting. Bonjour. Then the request, using the polite conditional.
Je voudrais un café et un croissant, s'il vous plaît.
Hello, I'd like a coffee and a croissant, please. Perfect. The server will likely acknowledge warmly and maybe ask for specifics.
Right.
Bien sûr. Vous voulez un café noir ou un café au lait?
Of course.
Would you like a black coffee or a coffee with milk? Notice the bien sûr. Of course. Very natural, encouraging.
Okay, so I choose. And remember the thank you. Un café au lait, merci beaucoup. A coffee with milk, thank you very much.
Great. And the server might finish with a very common informal confirmation. Ça marche chaud.
Ça marche l'eau. Got it. Or that works. It's colloquial, friendly, simple dialogue, but every piece, the greeting, je voudrais, s'il vous plaît, merci beaucoup, makes it sound natural and respectful.
Okay, that feels achievable. Now, before we wrap up, let's do a quick vocabulary boost, some absolute essentials for talking about your day, your plans, time words first.
Crucial scaffolding for parts of the day, le matin, morning, l'après-midi, afternoon, le soir, evening.
And for placing things in the week.
La semaine,
The
week, and the all-important le weekend, the weekend.
And talking about when things happen.
The anchors, aujourd'hui, today, demain, tomorrow, and higher, yesterday. Very basic, but you use them constantly.
Definitely. Okay, and some core people and places to ground those daily narratives.
Absolutely. Ami or amie, friend, male, female.
Yeah.
Famille, family. Travail, work, and maison, home.
These are the building blocks for talking about your actual life.
And the tip here is integration. You mentioned earlier maybe setting your phone to French or labeling things at home. Using these key words, like saying maison when you get home, helps make them intuitive, not just vocabulary lists.
Right. Okay, so summing up, we've gone from just saying bonjour in a shop through the nuances of saying something's too expensive with a smile to inviting people over and even talking to yourself while doing chores.
And the key thread through all of it is that these aren't just phrases from a book. They're how people actually speak day to day. Using them makes you sound less like a student and more like someone comfortable in the language.
Mastering that explicit politeness, combining it with that action-based practice that seems to be the real path forward.
It really boosts confidence.
Yeah.
Gives you the toolkit to feel comfortable speaking French pretty much anywhere in any everyday situation.
Okay, so here's a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on based on everything we've discussed. We kept coming back to politeness, right? How crucial s'il vous plaît and merci beaucoup are. How manners matter when visiting someone's maison.
That explicit warmth.
So what is this constant need to state politeness explicitly, rather than just implying it through tone, maybe, like in some other languages? What does that tell us about the underlying social assumptions in French conversation? Why is it so important to say please and thank you so often?
It's an interesting question. How does that constant, explicit reinforcement of courtesy shape interactions?
Yeah, how might thinking about that affect how you approach speaking French, especially in new social situations? Something to consider as you start practicing your own daily French monologue. We'll catch you on the next deep dive. Welcome to the deep dive.
Oh.
So, if you've spent any time learning French, you probably know that feeling, right?
Oh, yeah.
You've got the grammar down. Maybe you could even, conjugate tricky verbs. But then you open your mouth.
And it just doesn't sound right. You sound like you're reading from a textbook, maybe a very dry one.
Exactly. That exact gap, that disconnect between knowing the rules and actually sounding natural, that's what we're diving into today.
Mm-hmm. We've pulled together research guides, stuff that kind of bypasses the usual grammar drills.
Right.
We're focusing on those other things, the confidence, the tone, and what some sources even call mandatory politeness, things that make you sound fluent instantly.
So our mission today is basically to give you the shortcut, the blueprint for sounding authentically French.
Yeah.
We're digging out those little potent techniques.
Yeah, the ones that make the difference between just being understood and, actually connecting with people.
Because it turns out your tone, your rhythm, how you handle simple social things.
That's what tells a native speaker almost immediately if you're comfortable in the language or just like reciting rules.
A grammar machine.
Exactly. Not a grammar machine. The goal isn't just being correct. It's comfort. Sounding calm, natural, like you belong there.
Okay.
And the very first big idea, the foundation really, is that confidence in French isn't just about vocabulary. It's tied deeply to the culture's relationship with sound and with silence.
Okay, sound first then. Let's unpack that. The guides we looked at were really clear on this. French is, melodic.
Yeah.
But what does that actually mean when you're speaking? Are we talking opera here?
No, not white opera. It's more about, think about musical phrases. In English, a lot of dialects are relatively flat, right? We save the big pitch changes for questions, mostly.
Sure.
French uses intonation differently. It shapes phrases within a sentence, even just a normal statement. The pitch tends to rise on the second to last syllable of a group of words.
Okay.
And then it falls quite distinctly at the very end of the whole thought, the whole sentence.
So it's kind of like a wave, a smooth rolling sound, not just flat steps.
That's a great way to put it, a rolling wave. If you speak it flat with a monotone, you risk sounding uninterested. Or even a bit, unfriendly.
Right, like you're just reciting facts instead of actually talking to someone.
Precisely. Think about engaging versus just delivering information.
Okay, give us that classic example that was in the source material. How does it actually sound different?
Right. So a learner just focused on getting the words out might say, Bonjour, comment ça va? Flat, correct words, but lifeless.
Yeah, it sounds like my phone's voice assistant.
Exactly. Now compare that with a natural tone, rising and falling a bit. Bonjour beaucoup, comment ça va? You hear that lift.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Bonjour and then on va.
Right. It signals warmth, engagement, actual interest. You're not just saying hello, you're showing you want to connect.
Okay, now here's something that feels really backwards, at least for English speakers.
Yeah.
This idea about silence.
Ah, yes. The power of the pause.
In English, a long pause in conversation can feel awful.
Yeah.
Like super awkward. We rush to fill it up.
We really do. Silence often feels like disagreement or like something's gone wrong.
Yeah.
But in French culture, it's often different. A pause, a moment of silence can actually signal thoughtfulness. Respect for the question, maybe.
So taking a beat isn't a sign you're lost.
Not necessarily. A brief, deliberate pause can actually project control. It suggests you're thinking in French, processing the idea, not just scrambling for a translation. It can paradoxically make you sound more fluent.
So we should lean into the silence sometimes.
Absolutely. Think about those little starter phrases like eh bien or alors or alors. So, following those with a tiny pause before you continue, like in the example, eh bien, je pense que oui. Whoa, I think so. That little gap, it's not hesitation.
It's contemplation.
Exactly. It says, I'm considering this, not, oops, forgot the word for think.
That makes sense. That idea of controlling the silence probably connects to controlling our speed too, which brings us to those classic learner mistakes.
Oh, yes.
The first big one. Trying to speak super fast because you think that sounds fluent.
And that's often the dead giveaway, isn't it? Rushing. Because when you rush,
you trip over words.
You trip over words, your pronunciation gets muddy, you lose that melodic tone we just talked about. It actually makes you harder to understand.
Which then tanks your confidence. vicious cycle.
Totally. So the better way, according to all these sources, is actually to slow down, breathe, focus on pronouncing each syllable clearly.
Okay, but hang on. If I slow down too much because I'm searching for words, won't that just sound like I'm struggling? How do you tell the difference between thoughtful pacing and just being slow?
That's a really key question. It comes down to the quality of the speech, not just the speed. Thoughtful pacing means your syllables are clear, your tone is still musical and controlled, and maybe you use those little intentional pauses we mentioned. Struggling often sounds flat, rushed in bursts, maybe panicked. Fluency, fundamentally, is about comfort in the language, not sheer speed. A slow, clear, comfortable speaker sounds way more confident than someone fast and, well, frantic.
Comfort, not speed. Okay, that's a big takeaway. Now, what about the other big trap? Translating directly from English in your head.
The translation trap. This is where you really see how languages structure reality differently. We talked about I miss you.
Right, you can't just say je te manque thinking it means I miss you.
You have to use tu me manques.
Which literally means you are missing from me.
Yeah.
The feeling is happening to the speaker. It's a totally different perspective.
Exactly. And let's nail this down with another super common one, age. In English, we say, I am 30 years old.
Right. Using the verb to be.
So a learner might try to translate that directly and say, je suis 30 ans.
Which is wrong.
Completely wrong. The correct French is, j'ai 30 ans. Literally, I have 30 years.
So French uses to have, avoir for age, not to be être.
Right. And it's the same for hunger, thirst. J'ai faim, I have hunger. J'ai soif, I have thirst. French sees these not as states of being, but as things you possess or conditions you experience.
Wow. Getting those fundamental structures right, thinking in that French way, that must be huge for sounding natural.
It's absolutely key. You stop trying to force English patterns onto French words.
Okay, that idea of cultural structure leads us perfectly into politeness. The sources basically call this the defining feature of French communication.
They really did. It's like the oil in the social machine. It makes daily interactions smooth and shows respect. It's not optional.
And this is where knowing the culture is just as important as knowing the grammar. Like the whole tu versus vous thing.
Oh, absolutely. That's a constant navigation, isn't it? The informal tu and the formal or plural vous.
Most learners get the basic rule. Tu for friends, family, kids.
Yeah.
Vous for strangers, authority figures, groups.
Right.
But the sources stressed how high the stakes are. Using tu when you should use vous. That's not just a grammar mistake, is it?
No, it can be seen as disrespectful or overly familiar, presumptuous. It can really rub people the wrong way.
So, rule of thumb, when in doubt.
Use vous. Always default to vous in professional settings, in shops, banks, with anyone older you don't know well, until they maybe invite you to use tu. It shows you understand and respect their social codes.
It's like acknowledging their culture, not just conjugating a verb correctly.
Precisely. And that respect is baked into certain phrases that are just mandatory. They're not extra niceties. They're expected.
The social contract stuff.
Exactly. You need these locked and loaded, ready to go automatically.
Okay, let's break them down for listeners. For asking for anything or just general politeness when making a request.
S'il vous plaît. Always. Please. You just don't ask for something without it. And when receiving something or being helped?
Merci. Or better, merci beaucoup. Thank you very much.
Right. And the reply to thank you. You need something more than just say the English,
What's the standard polite response?
Je vous en prie is very common and polite. It means you're welcome or my pleasure. Avec plaisir, with pleasure, works well too. De rien, it's nothing. It's common, but can feel a bit brief, maybe even dismissive in more formal situations.
Okay, good to know. What about navigating physical space? Like bumping into someone or needing to get past?
Two key ones here. Pardon is common for a very minor bump or, to squeeze past. Excusez-moi is a bit more formal or used when you need to get someone's attention, like a waiter.
And the crucial point is that you use these all the time, right?
Yeah.
Way more than maybe in the US or UK.
Much more frequently. And leaving any shop, even if you bought nothing, you say bonne journée, have a nice day, and au revoir, goodbye, as you leave. It's expected.
Wow. It's like politeness is the default setting. Forget it, the whole interaction feels off.
Exactly. You stall the social engine, basically.
Okay, so we've got the melodic sound, the strategic pause, the absolute necessity of politeness. Now let's talk about flow, keeping the conversation going.
Right. This is about moving beyond just being technically correct and actually being well, conversational.
And confidence here means using the French you do know, right? Not waiting until you have some perfect complex sentence ready.
Absolutely. Learners often freeze because they're searching for the perfect word or the perfect tense. That hesitation just kills the spontaneity.
So instead, we should lean on those short, quick phrases, the ones that keep the ball rolling.
Yes, the conversational glue, the little filler words and reactions that show you're listening, you're engaged, even if you need a second to formulate your main point.
They buy you time while making you sound natural.
Exactly. They show participation.
Okay, let's list some must-haves for the listener, things to sprinkle in, if you want to agree or just acknowledge what someone said.
Okay, easy ones. Bien sûr. Of course. C'est vrai. That's true. Je suis d'accord. I agree.
What about just like, okay, got it?
D'accord works perfectly. Or even pas de problème, no problem, if it fits the context.
And reacting with a bit of surprise or needing clarification.
Vraiment, really. Or ah, bon, which is also like, oh, really? Very common.
And if you're not sure, or it doesn't really matter.
Il pense que oui, I think so. Or maybe ce n'est pas grave, it doesn't matter, it's not a big deal.
Just using those makes you sound less like you're taking a test and more like you're actually in the conversation.
Totally. And remember to bring some life to it. Textbook French can be a bit dry. Like it's just saying, je suis content, I am happy.
It's correct, but maybe a bit bland.
Yeah. You need to inject some real feeling. Use intensifiers.
Like what? What's the more natural, emotional way?
Try something like je suis trop content. That trop, meaning too or too much, is used all the time informally to mean very or so.
So trop content means so happy.
Exactly. Or c'est génial, and you gotta sound like you mean it. It shows personality, not just vocabulary recall.
That energy, that personality, it connects directly to the final piece, doesn't it? Getting over the fear of making mistakes.
The biggest hurdle for so many learners.
Yeah, all this advice is great, but if you're too scared to actually speak,
then it's useless, right? And the sources were unanimous on this. Confidence isn't something you wait for. It's built by doing.
Through action.
Every single time you try, even if you stumble, you're building that pathway in your brain. You just have to speak anyway. Make the mistakes. Learn from them.
I liked that metaphor one source used. Speaking French is a bit like acting.
It's a fantastic way to think about it. Because French relies so much on that tone, the rhythm, the projection, you kind of have to perform the phrase a little.
Embody it.
Yes. Don't just repeat words to memorize them. Repeat them to feel the emotion. Practice saying, c'est génial, like you just won the lottery. Ask comment ça va, like you genuinely care about the answer.
Act the feeling, and the right intonation, that French melody will follow.
Often, yes. It helps bypass the flat, robotic delivery.
Okay, so for everyone listening who wants to start moving beyond the textbook, like today, what are some practical small steps?
All right, 3 things. First, passive absorption. Listen to French music, podcasts, radio. Don't stress about understanding every word. Just soak in the sound, the rhythm, the pauses, the emotional color.
Get the music to your ear.
Exactly. Second, bring French into your space. Simple labels on things around the house, la table, la fenêtre, just making it visible.
Okay. And the third, probably the most crucial.
Speak every single day, even if it's just talking to yourself. Narrate what you're doing.
Like out loud.
Yep. Simple stuff. Je me brosse les dents. I'm brushing my teeth. Je prépare le déjeuner. I'm making lunch. It makes the language active, spontaneous, tied to your life, not just exercises. Takes the pressure off.
The more you use it for real things, the more real and confident you sound.
That's the idea.
This has been, wow, a real deep dive into these fluency boosters. We've gone from robotic speech to melodic tone.
Embracing the pause.
Mastering that essential politeness.
Using those flow phrases.
And focusing on action and emotion over just being perfect.
It really boils down to seeing French confidence as, well, an emotional and cultural practice, not just a language test.
Right.
So maybe here's the final thought for you to take away from all this. The moment you really commit to these habits we've talked about, that slightly slower melodic tone, the unwavering politeness, speaking with genuine feeling.
Yeah.
That's the moment your French stops sounding like something you learned in a class and starts sounding like you.
A powerful thought to end on. Until next time.
If you've made it this far, you're not just learning French, you're living it. Every phrase, every expression, every bit of practice brings you closer to sounding natural, confident, and connected, just like a real native speaker. Remember, language learning isn't about perfection, it's about connection. Keep listening, keep repeating, and keep bringing a little piece of France into your everyday life. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow and subscribe. There's so much more to come. Practical phrases, fun expressions, and real-life French you can actually use. And don't forget to share what you'd like to learn next. Maybe French for travel, work, or romance. Your ideas shape our next lessons. So keep practicing, stay curious, and speak with confidence, because fluency truly begins with you.